Good morning. Hello. How is everybody? I'm not sure anyone's here today, actually. I think everyone's a bit fucking out of overtired today. I wonder why that would be. I love International Women's Day. I go fucking mental on Women's Day. I just, you know what? It always ends this way, which is that every year you end up, Are You Okay Day is another one, where I end up like, I start my day planning an essay or, something else. And it ends in usually just me fucking rapid fire. Now, what's interesting is that I think let's just address some of the stuff because it is, again, everything's related. Talk about three things. They're all related. Which is that I've been sort of, if you've been following me for any length of time, you'll know that I've been suffering a little bit from writer's block, right? I've had severe fucking writer's block. I managed to get the first chapter of the book that I'm writing, finished in 2020. I'd been sitting on it for a while. I've got drafts and notes, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and fucking thousands of notes. Lots of jokes, lots of snippets, lots of fucking Facebook posts and all that stuff. And sort of, but ultimately a lot of that stuff has been avoiding writing, and I've been suffering from writer's block. Like there's a post that I've sort of pinned to my LinkedIn that is basically that the longer that you're in business and the more people see, this is, I think, again, this is somewhat linked to somewhat linked to why you might see that people don't talk about certain issues or certain issues, especially on LinkedIn, or they might be afraid, or they might be uncomfortable, is because I've been there. And what I've noticed is that the more you've got to lose, which is the more that, especially when you're responsible for other people, like when you've got employees or, children, you got to take care of people. Again, you can't not look at this stuff in isolation from capitalism and work and the relationship that, 9 to 5 work and all these sort of structures in place that make humans and force humans to behave in ways that maybe we wouldn't in a different structure. Like this is the core of, say, Marxist psychological work, which is, again, it's not, oh yeah, let's fucking tear it all down. And, like, you're seeing this shit now. You're seeing this shit, like with Russia and stuff. It's like, this shit's complicated. And first of all, Russia's not socialist. Second of all, and it hasn't really meaningfully been since fucking, Lenin, right? It's not really something that, it's just like people are just, like, don't be dumb. Stop being dumb. I've got a few bots today. These fucking bots, I don't know. I got to try and figure out how I can get rid of them because they're actually making things quite unpleasant. I got to set something up where, anyway, doesn't matter. The chats are turned off anyway. I'm just, I can read them, but they won't show up on streams anymore. It's too many fucking flashes. Sick of this. Again, I love the fact that we can interact, but I'm going to keep the interaction chats and shit for when I do private streams. I just don't need to deal with that shit publicly, right? I think I'd rather just keep that shit intimate and friendly because I love interacting with everybody. Hang on, just tweaking some stuff. I love interacting and I love bouncing and bantering and all that sort of stuff. But then you get guys going, you fucking went off topic. Yeah, because I was having a conversation. It's a live stream, fuckhead. And if I was earning what, literally everybody else earns, I'd be able to do clips and you'd notice that there was actually some substance. But, it's just, yeah. Anyway, fucking dudes. Men are getting on my tits lately. They really are. And it's like the worst. It's almost like, okay, the better the large group of men get. So the better that the majority of men get, there's a portion of men who get worse. And again, I know why. Double down. Fucking, they feel persecuted. There's fewer of them. Therefore, they fucking feel like they're losing. Therefore, they double down. That's sort of just natural human instinct. But on my end, every year with International Women's Day, it gets fucking worse. It gets worse every year because sorry, hang on. We're just having a few little, I'm just sit and tweak the fucking proper camera at some point. Anyway, Sony, the kit lens, it's fine. Whatever. Give me money, pay me. I'll do what you want. Okay, I'll be a cat. Actually, Paul's launching a thing in a Chrome plugin in the Chrome store, just a fun little thing, where Asana took out the dancing parrot when you close off a task, and people missed that. So he made a Chrome plugin that when you submit something in GitHub or you submit something in a project management tool, that parrot comes back. Okay, so that's a really cool little Chrome plugin. And but GitHub allows you to do like much like Patreon or OnlyFans or anything like that. It allows you to have like supporters and that sort of stuff. And so in his copy, I actually said what you should say is, I got this like GitHub is fucking fun. The idea of that. And I said basically that please like support me. I'm too old and too hairy for OnlyFans. I was like, that's fucking funny. Anyway, it's just, on that note, do become a patron if you can. Now, just a little bit of housekeeping before we get to Coney, which is that I found out yesterday, this is why being that banned from Twitter has been good for me, because I've actually been, again, reflecting on whether it's worthwhile, and I don't think it is. I think Twitter's dead. I think actually, I think in the last stream I mentioned, I'm not sure whether it is an emotional attachment and sunk costs that keeps me there, or this idea that maybe I might get fucking viral or might actually get seen. I don't think I will. I honestly don't think I will. I think that I need to make it like my third priority in terms of platforms. But I've been hanging out on LinkedIn. Like before, actually, when I had a Twitter break, okay, and again, these are not unrelated. I talk about three fucking things, okay, which is, emotional shit, content, social media. These happen to be big, broad things that can be applied broadly. But this will be linked to Coney 2012, because if you understand how Coney 2012 impacted the way that social media operates, I think you'll understand a little more about, why we're here. And LinkedIn is a platform for that, okay? But it's also an opportunity, okay? Now, I think this is where we got away from things a little bit. Anyway, so but I've been spending more time on LinkedIn. Now, when for those who followed me for a long time, okay, and first found me through Twitter, you might actually, you'll notice that basically as soon as Trump got elected, I lost interest in Twitter because that guy just dominated the platform. He became a fuckwit. Everyone lost their minds. I was there. I noticed. It changed. It just disappeared. Overnight. It became a fucking horrible cesspool of American bullshit and American fucking collective trauma that for some reason always ends up being everyone else's problem. And America fucking trying to get their shit together when everyone's got stuff figured out. Okay, we've mostly got stuff figured out and they just can't seem to figure it out. We're rooting for you. We're rooting for you. Very happy for you. But not our fucking problem, guys. It's just like, Jesus fucking Christ. But I spent, 2 or 3 years I mostly hung out on LinkedIn. Okay. And part of the reason why this comes back to the writer's block. So I actually find that LinkedIn is a really great, I've said this before, it's a great platform if you're on there and you are brave and you are honest. Okay. And if you aren't afraid, or if you are somehow emboldened by these things now, and this is where, when I talk about sort of this institutional power and institutional backing, okay, I have that too. When I talk about how men are backed in these things, I have some of that backing too, which is, I have tenure, I have a personal brand that's sort of contrarian. I'm in digital, so nothing I do is, all of this stuff is all obviously I can appear like I'm impulsive. It's part of my fucking thing, right? And it's part of, it's a version of who I am, but it's not who I am. I talked about that like the other day when the stream shat itself. Okay. But that was what I was trying to get across, is that, this concept of persona and authenticity, and, there's this sort of faux authenticity. Again, we'll come back to Coney 2012 and where that was significant and how this stuff sort of shifted. But there was a time when corporations didn't know anything about social media, when it was new, and I was one of the experts. I was one of the new people writing. Like, if you look at my old social, I've got to sort through my content and recategorize and fucking update and all that stuff. But if you go back and look at my old stuff and writing, I was right. I was correct. I was saying, no one wants to talk to your logo. Okay, I was telling them this. I was on the other side of the fence, saying, guys, this is what you need. I was consulting on how social media works, what this was. I was sought after in that regard as a consultant. I was very early on. I was a social media consultant when I didn't believe you needed a social media consultant. I was telling people I was telling brands to get the fuck off of social. I was telling them to stay out of the conversations, to not insert themselves if they're relevant, or to form. I'm still a big fan, okay, huge fan of, not much like that, paid endorsements, but open, transparent, paid endorsements. Always been a big fan of, sponsorship, partnership. I love, the Patreon model, true fan stuff. If someone puts in the effort to build an audience of sort of true fans, right, then that's an opportunity for a brand to work together with somebody who has a tribe, but there's a win-win, there's a partnership there. That's something that I still support. Okay, I still support branded content so long as it's transparent. Now, the problem is that transparency disappeared and it became some sort of, fucking Frankenstein's monster of good intentions and fucking grifters, right? Now, the thing about the internet, as much as I talk about one book, I've got another sort of little book that I'm working on, right? Fiddling with light, sorry about that. Which is that I'm working on that, and it's the 12 rules for the internet. And one of those rules is, if there's a good thing, the internet will fuck it. The scammers will fuck it. There's some laws here that we've learned over time. Okay, that were learned early on in social media. I don't know what the fuck's going on with my tech today. I think my camera is actually just struggling with things. I'm just going to ignore it. Stop looking at my own fucking face. Everyone's sick of you, Tay. Stop being... You know what? If you don't want people to think you're a narcissist, don't fucking act like one, dickhead. Anyway, okay. So... it's just where your eye wanders. It's like, if anything, I'm not narcissistic, I'm insecure. And it's just more like, oh, fuck, I look like shit. And this is what these dudes on the internet do to you. They get in your head, and they know this. This is why they're flashes. It's why they're virtual flashes, because they know that they get in your head. And if they and these bots, they get in your head. You remember that bot that was like, oh, wash your hair. Oh, they know this because they know that if they sort of strike frequently enough, that they'll catch those buttons with women, okay, and men. With men, it's mostly their dicks or whatever, right? Or they're not funny or whatever. But women is usually, you're not smart or something sort of physical in terms of appearance. Like men, you see how these things go. I've interacted with these dudes. They start respectfully with a comment. I go, you're wrong. And then it degrades into, fix your teeth. Oh, yeah, okay. Fix this. Fucking. But they also don't forget that I came from the trenches of the internet, and I fucking, I was 50 kilos heavier. I don't give a shit, okay? I don't give a fuck. But the problem is that, no one's immune. No one is immune from the feedback getting into your head, especially when you're in especially when you wake up after International Women's Day. I fucking represented. Look at my video. I was like, so when I'm back on Twitter tonight, I'm going to be doing a thread of the things you missed and the things I wished I'd tweeted. So I'll be doing that. I've already got it written, but I did a video that was like hashtag break. What was it? Hashtag break the, was it, what corporate bullshit was it? Break the bias. Okay. And I was like, cut the shit. So anyway, hashtag cut the shit for International Women's Day. Also, people need to know International Women's Day is a socialist fucking celebration. If you are a fucking corporate capitalist fuck celebrating International Women's Day at Nike, you don't know what International Women's Day fucking was. It's about labour. It was a celebration of labour. It was part of the labour movement related to the revolutions and shit. Can't remember the exact facts because I'm in a different mood and different mindset. Dates and times and facts fucking sometimes just don't, yeah. You've heard me. The other day I said that Tim Pool was squatted by mistake on my stream. That's funny. I meant swatted. But yeah, that's live streams for you. Anyway, so my 7-day sort of, no corner on Twitter was actually really good. And I'm going to publicly thank Twitter because I'm going to stop paying for Twitter Blue. I'm going to stop posting on the platform. They don't give a fuck because, they don't care. Okay. But I'm going to build my audience elsewhere. So I've started so I was on LinkedIn writing more, and there's a lesson from that too, which is that writer's block. So when I was on, so I'll get to Cody in give me about 20 minutes. I'll go get a coffee, go have a piss. I'll be back. No, but again, it's not unrelated. Okay. It's not unrelated. This history is always a story. We don't know where I'm going. I'm meandering. For those who have finding me for the first time via LinkedIn or watching for the first time via LinkedIn, no one's watching, thankfully, but if you're watching the replay or whatever, I meander. This is an absolute riffing. This is the title of the stream is not necessarily the conclusion, okay? I know if you're coming from LinkedIn, you're sort of focused on sort of getting there. We focus on the journey, not the destination. We may get to the destination or we may find another fucking adventure along the way. We may get lost and find our way somewhere else. That's how it goes, okay? We need more of this, okay? Especially on LinkedIn. It's part of what I do, which is talk about the journey and the relationships, not the leads, and the story and the creative and being creative for its own sake and love and joy and all that shit. All the stuff that's been hijacked by hashtag IWD, hashtag Coney 2012, all those fucks. But if you need a little nugget of where I'm going, that's where I'm going, okay? Which is that this was, again, stolen from us and hijacked. But I also know how and why. It's not a conspiracy. It's just capital. And capital accumulate. Again, this is Rosa Luxemburg. I've been reading a bit about Rosa Luxemburg. Now, again, she's a controversial figure in economics. But sometimes, again, aren't women always? She was a woman economist, motherfuckers. Okay, of course. They do. See, the thing is, Marx said dumb shit. Adam Smith said dumb shit. Invisible hand, God, dumb shit. Okay, manifest destiny. Edward Burke said Milton Friedman said dumb shit. Everyone says dumb shit. John Maynard Keynes, dumb shit. Okay, everyone says some stuff that's right and some stuff that's wrong. I say dumb shit, not as much as others, because I'm fucking brilliant. I swear a lot. The swearing detracts from the fucking brilliance, or adds to it, depending on your perspective. But everyone says dumb shit. But when it's a woman, it's fascinating to see how all of the fucking effort and resources goes into proving her wrong, proving her crazy, proving her angry, or proving that there's something wrong with that woman, because why is that woman out there talking and taking up space? My precious time, my precious space. Where's your elevator pitch, toots? It's like, no, I refuse. I'm not doing it your way. I'm doing it my way. Women do things differently. Women have conversations. Women are more about... You can't raise fucking ungrateful fuckwits for 18 years without having some sort of sense of the long fucking game. Okay? The nature of womanhood, and I'm not equating womanhood with motherhood. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying women, there is I'm not saying it's biological, and I'm not saying it's social. I'm saying it's both. I'm saying socially, we are socialized in certain ways to be constantly deferring ourselves and our own desires and needs in the short term. Women tend to be, not me, fuck that shit. Women tend to be better at long game and delayed gratification. Okay. Now, I'm not, I'm sure there's these guys that are like, oh, not with shopping. I'm saying I can see how women just approach through experiences. If you've got, let's say, all things on average, okay, I'm sure I'm making this up because I'm sure the data backs me up, which is that on average, women are probably more long-term in the way that they think, okay? Again, I can't back that, but that's just something that I would extrapolate based on what I do know and from experience and from other data that I do know about. So women can be more long-term. So what we can do is have a fucking 2-hour conversation about business and just feel each other out and decide whether we want to do business with each other, because women do business more relationally than transactionally, less and less. But again, it's like, some of this stuff is not man, woman, but just personality type. But some women, like women, are socialized and reinforce and have certain reinforcements in place to behave in certain ways and focus in certain areas and, and ignore certain other impulses. Like my impulse, my temper, fucking assertive, unerring assertiveness, and that can actually sometimes come across as defensive,ness. But what that is also it's very persuasive. So there's all these things that you got to weigh up. But I'm sort of at a place where I've made peace with me being who I am. I think you reach a point at a certain age where you know who you are. You know what you can and can't change. You've tried to fucking fit in. You've tried to change so many things, whether it's your lifestyle or, certain things that you do. You can change and be, there's self-awareness, okay? So you can sort of interrupt yourself and try to be better. But some things you just need to just accept. Like for me, I accept the fact that I'm not going to fit in with corporates. I accept that. But I also accept the fact that I know I have a fucking quiet network of very influential people in those networks who I have conversations with and who are cheering me on behind the scenes and liking all the fucking other stuff. All the all the stuff and I'm sitting there going, I made fun of this, and they're like, yeah, you fucking go. See? This is where when you go, the data. Yeah, the data's wrong. Data's fucking wrong. Stop being a dickhead. If you're relying on data, that's why you're going to fuck up. If you're in PR and doing data-driven PR or numbers-driven journalism, or taking your journals, like your opinions from Twitter, which is one of the other things, as data-driven journalism, click-driven journalism, back to Coney, we'll get there. Coney is more where some of this stuff came to light and a conversation occurred and corporations kind of paid attention and fucked up immensely. I'm going to talk about the McD stories when McDonald's did that as well. I'm going to talk about some great fuck-ups with social media in the early days and, backing what I say about the internet being stolen and now sort of, corporate sponsored and pay for play. I need to back these things. They just take some time. Okay. Again, pay me to write my book. This is me pitching my book, telling these stories, okay? These are chapters, these are stories, these are experiences, and there's data and all of that stuff, but that costs money to produce. So, help me, find me an agent who'll find me a publisher. I know publishers don't pay necessarily for first books, but if I've got this much content and I'm putting it out and I'm talking about this stuff, that maybe they might go, yeah, okay, well, here you go, here's an advance. You never know, okay? Ask, get, okay? I'm just bad at asking. Unfortunately, because I'm a relational thinker and a relational business person, not transactional in the way that I think, I assume that people know what that means, which is, help me do this stuff, call to action without directly asking. The problem is I'm not good at directly asking for anything. It's like, but if you can share my stuff, you can hype me up to your networks. You can, if you are worried, I'm doing this new, anyway, I'll come back to this, but I'm doing a new LinkedIn specific show, which is brutally honest fucking business, brutally honest advice based on my something, experience, because that's what I'm good at. brutally honest, okay? No bullshit. I got, everyone is trying to sell everyone something. I'm not trying to sell anyone anything. I've been very open about what I want to do, which is write and create and just hang out and pass on whatever fucking wisdom I can, so that especially women coming behind me don't fall for the same bullshit, okay, and start actually, and I like that's one thing I like about Gen Z. I don't want to break Gen Z because Gen Z have it. Gen X had it. But we got beaten down over time. And I see another opportunity. Millennials can go fuck themselves. They're basically like boomers in corduroy and wearing the same fucking clothes. Ironically, look at yourselves, you boomers, you fucking idiots. But they're going to be the new boomers. So and my responsibility is to reach Gen Z on LinkedIn somehow. Shut up. I'm scared of TikTok, but I've got to try and figure out. A different way to reach Gen Z business people and go, you know what? Women are getting bad advice from older women who are telling them to behave and lean in and all this stuff. Is like, no, because it took me 28 years to realize that I am different, and that is the thing that is great. And I had this conversation. My daughter was I know she'd be uncomfortable with this, but she doesn't watch it. And she's an adult. I'm sure she would appreciate this story. But when she was 8, because, she's like me, she was born, she's smart, and I think she's always felt the same as me. Unfortunately, it's sort of, the world moves on. I'm glad that I grew up Gen X and somewhat overlooked and ignored and taken for granted, because what I managed to do was build a strong sense of self-efficacy and self-esteem and I knew I was different. I knew that I was different always, okay? Always known. I never fit. I never gelled. Like, you've watched me with this gender critical stuff. I try my best. I work my fucking ass off. I burn shit to the ground every day and represent. I can bring all of the arguments. I'm empathetic, I'm a good communicator, I have all of the skills, and yet somehow, because of girl shit, I'm excluded, okay? And I can understand why there is this idea of exclusion, because I've been someone who's been at the fringes and excluded for since I was fucking little, okay? Because I didn't understand, I'm a relational thinker because I have learned how to be, because I learned it from a fucking book. I learned what's best. It's not intuitive in me. I'm not a transactional thinker either, but I'm just confused by girls. I've always been confused by women and the complexity of women. This is why I'm always confused when people go, you hate men. I go, no, I relate to men better. What I'm doing is talking to a certain group. If I was a man, I'd be saying the exact same shit that I'm saying now. It would just be heard. And I'd be getting cookies from fucking blonde fucks on LinkedIn and corporate assholes for zero fucking effort. If I was a man, I'd be king of the feminists. I'm saying I'd say the exact same stuff that I'm saying now. It would just get listened to, and I wouldn't be called ranty or angry or, too long, didn't read. Your streams are too long. You talk too much. You take up too much space. How dare you be speaking about things that you know and care about without my input, okay? This is what I woke up to today, after yesterday, after writing, I think 4 posts, big posts for IWD. And again, I write different things. Also, LinkedIn has a character limit on posts, which is good. But, so I have to kind of, refine. That'll come back to my Twitter ban and what I realized about Twitter. Is that it fucks up my writing. I realized why I'm not writing much. And that's because I'm tweeting threads and they're not good. The ideas are good, but the audience isn't right for a start, okay? No one cares. No one's listening. No one cares about complexity on Twitter. They care about fucking bullshit, clapbacks, outrageous stuff, okay? So Twitter, it used to be understood that it used to be my platform, okay? I was on Twitter, even though it says my account's 2011. My first account was the end of 2008. I was registered early, okay? I deleted the account during my separation and divorce, because my ex-husband I was like queen of fucking Twitter. I had like, when you think of 2010, I had 6,500 followers. Okay. Still have 6,500 followers than I have for fucking a year. This is what I'm saying. They're pretending like, like I shouldn't have a lot more and a blue check by now. And it's not the case, okay? I was one of those, when I say I built the platform, I'm not fucking lying. I was one of the early adopters. I got a lot of like people on there. I got a lot of influential people on there, a lot of business people on there because I was fucking talking about it at conferences and saying this thing is like really cool, because it was also one of those things where they had an API. One of the things that I saw was this for fans. Again, I've talked about this before, which was that the API and the Twitter plugin, okay, the Twitter widget, okay, allowed you, like, because I had this problem of trying to get the people that I was working with to stop and write to fans and go, you know what, they love you. If you drop in once a week or whatever, like, this is what people don't realize. Like, I had to actually sell this. I had to persuade people of this, okay. Now that was partly, it was partly a personality type thing. Like, Lisa's always been very guarded and private and polite and, all that sort of stuff. She's really diplomatic like that. Other artists I work with, ran with it. Okay. Like Kay Hanley and a few other people like that. She ran with it. She was always in her forums having fun and in jokes and all that sort of stuff. But some of my artists were sort of more indie. So there's an eccentricism that goes with that. But anyway, side point, but trying to persuade people, again, this is going back to pre-Coney, okay, early Twitter. Like, I'd say that the few of those celebrities you'd consider them early adopters, but they didn't even realize they were early adopters because they were just told by me that they should be on there, and I went and told them, and and registered on their behalf and all of those sorts of things. I actually registered these accounts on their behalf. Like, if you go and look at some of their old music videos, okay, I literally encoded and uploaded those old music videos. Like, my footprint is everywhere, like on these things, just in the background and invisible, okay. And also in liner notes, they're not credits, they're thank yous, okay. Or on TV shows, they're not credits, they're thank yous. So I always fell sort of outside of the IMDb. Like, my goal was actually to get so many thank yous but nobody but never end up on IMDb. It's always one of those things. I've always wanted to be one of those people where I'm just appreciated and thanked and paid, and I don't, and I'm happy knowing that I did good work. The work is what matters. The process for me is what matters. The journey matters more than the destination. And this is the problem, I think, with business, is that we've become so focused on the outcome. And this is the downside of data-driven decision-making, which is that you lose sight of why again, basic strategy. Why are we doing this? Why are we here? Okay? Are we here? And this is corporate branding strategy 101. Okay? Yeah, it's a load of bullshit. Okay? Yeah, most of the people in those rooms are there, and I used to do this in my workshops. Most of the reason why people are there is because they need to eat and they need to pay their bills. And one of the things that I would tease out in my brand workshops, okay, and social media workshops, because some of the early stuff, this is the stuff that I'm going to talk more about on this LinkedIn show, because this is where my wealth of advice is, okay? This is where I know all my shit. And when I talk about this culture war stuff, it kind of helps you to see that I know what I'm talking about, okay? Because I was there. I was there. I seen it, okay? I seen all of it. I fucking participated in all of it. I wrote about all of it. Some of it's been scrubbed because, again, you evolve and grow, and, you say things in ways, like, especially when suicides start happening and shit starts going down and you're going through divorce and you live your divorce out on Twitter, right? That's what happened, is I had to delete my account because I had AVOs out on these men because my ex-husband decided that, his little Twitter clique would take down one of the most influential people on Twitter in my city at the time. Okay, I was considered a top influencer in this. Being number one in the back of bumfuck doesn't mean much, but it was still, enough. It was quite substantial. When I showed up, people would recognize me on the street. It was fucking weird. Okay, that was fucking weird for a while. I don't like that shit. I'm private. Also, I don't like putting fucking makeup on, and I don't want to be one of those people where I have to put fucking, I remember Estee Lauder counter, when I was at the Estee Lauder counter and someone says, oh, you need to buy this kit of Estee Lauder. This is Beyonce's 5-minute kit. So when she's going to the gym, this is what it's like to fucking want fame. Why? When she's going to the gym and she's walking out and there's paparazzi, she goes on and does this quick fucking makeup so that she doesn't look bad on camera. I'm like, I don't even fucking do skincare most of the time. You can tell, can't you? I don't even do skincare routines. I can't be asked. I wash my face with fucking stuff. I'm going to go get a chemical peel because I didn't do skincare. But, I'm saying this is the life that people are seeking and I don't understand why. Again, don't understand this fucking shit because I'm fucking munted in the brains or correct or wise. I'm not sure which. I'm either smart or stupid. I'm not sure. That's the thing. I've never been entirely sure whether I'm painfully fucking absolutely munted. I'm going to use munted from now on, not retarded. Munted is an Australian word for messed up. Munted. Okay. I'm either completely fucking munted in the brains or I'm fucking a genius. I'm not really sure which. I think everyone is a little bit of both, I think, if you're in my anyway. So Schrodinger's intelligence. You're both completely fucking retarded and a genius at the same time. Anyway, so the Twitter, so this whole writer's book, but I've realized that Twitter's bad for my writing. It's a distraction. It takes all my best ideas and they go out into the void. They get stolen and taken and repurposed, and it doesn't actually become a fully formed idea. It doesn't become a fully formed piece of writing. Okay. And also I know more about this business shit, and also I think they need me. Twitter is where the fuckwits live. It's where the bots live. It's where the journalists live. And it's a club and I'm not in it. And I've accepted that. And now that's where I was like, well, it's a sunk cost thing. I think that I just spend a lot less time on there. It's fucking futile. Don't give them any money. Don't give them any more of your data than you already have. 120,000 fucking tweets since 2011. Not the 65,000 you did the years before that. But I'm saying, so anyway. But I think people, when we're talking about 2020, Coney 2012 and why that was quite a turning point. Anyone who's read sort of John Ronson's book, So You've Been Publicly Ashamed, I think people read that stuff not realizing that most of this stuff we learned as we went along, okay? And like I said, I was one of those early people who knew what they were talking about, who saw this thing, who was advising on this stuff behind the scenes, uploading YouTube videos, coaching people and saying, get on this thing, do this thing, interact with your fans. This is the best way to do it. The labels are fucking struggling. Okay. Figure out a way to do your own thing. Okay. Figure out a way, and then iTunes, figure out a way to put demos out. Now, again, working with artists, some take that advice, some don't. It's funny to see them during the pandemic suddenly taking my advice 20 years later. That's funny. But, it was like, well, those who took my advice early were fucking fine in 2020 because they were set up, okay? But those who didn't, really, who thought that the label shit the labels would give a fuck about them, not and the venues and all the people and all the touring and everything, and that they could just fall back on merch or whatever. They were behind. They ended up behind. And taking 3 months to get their shit together. So it's just, again, it's just good insurance to be set up so that you can run anything digitally. Now, that's just one of the things where when you work for yourself and you work from home, you're already agile. So I was largely untouched by this thing. It wasn't a big shock professionally for me because it's what I do. So I've always been set up to do Zoom calls because I've always been international and always just, so I just go, oh yeah, okay, keep going. So I'm very fortunate in that regard. That I saw this early and was agile, okay. But what I saw with LinkedIn, you've got length to write, but you've also got limitations. So you've got, and I like the fact that I will do what I've done on a Twitter thread, okay. This is the problem of trying to produce anything, and I know that in the early days, tweet storms used to be something that I loved, okay? It was funny. It's where my ideas were. And what I would do is, because of the constraints, I'd have a grain of a fucking idea and a tweet storm, then I'd go off and I'd turn it into something, okay? Now, the problem with Twitter threads is that you think that the thread is enough. And the thing that happened with, the lengthening of Twitter threads, okay, tweets, and also the Twitter thread, okay, is that you then get self-conscious about posting this thing, reposting, because obviously it's like wearing the same dress, right? In girl shit. I know. Sorry, hair went in my eye. Hang on. It's like the girl shit, right? This is me trying to relay girl shit to you. Like I understand any of it. It's probably not a thing. It's probably stupid. It's probably just a TV thing. Hang on. Hair went in my eye. What the fuck? Across my eyeball. Don't you hate it when that happens? Anyway. But that's there's a cringy thing there about repurposing content. You use your content once. Like, this is one of those things where corporations started to sort of use content over and over again and reshare. And like, even when I retweet myself, okay, and do this thing where even when I do like a retweet for time zones, because that's just a time zone thing where, because most people have like latest tweets on or whatever, what they've done, what happens is that, they kind of miss most of your stuff. So what I do is, when the UK sort of wake up, in the evening, I go and retweet all my stuff, right? That's cringy, like to reshare your own stuff. It's kind of old school. It's a bit like, you don't do that. But it's also necessary in order to get seen. And for those that, might see you and for discovery, it's a really important thing to do. Again, these things, and sharing, like, it's just like posting your own quote, okay? It's like, it's just naff. You don't do that stuff, okay? But that was the problem with Twitter threads, which was that basically I was treating a Twitter thread like it was a finished thing, and then not reposting, or just it would go into the void. So what it would do, it would end up in my Scrivener, okay, as a Twitter thread, or it'd sit in WordPress. I got like 30 fucking Twitter threads that I did that, I'd pull into WordPress ready to turn into something better, and it would never happen because, again, culture wars, stuff, people move on. There's stuff you want to say, and also, again, resources, because it's not my job to write. If I was paid to write full time, I'd be able to, spend the day writing the thing. Like, if you saw me yesterday, I went as International Women's Day. I wrote 4,000. I think it was like 5,200 words or something ridiculous. I've got to do the count. Last count, it was like 4,500. But then I did another thing. It was like 5,000 fucking words in like rapid fire, first draft. And it was better than, it was good writing, okay? And because I had stuff, but I had the time, and I had dedicated the time and the resources. I knew that this was coming. I knew that every year I tend to get randy, and when cortisol's flowing, it's fucking, cortisol's better than any drug for me to like write, because I get like pissed off and ranty, and LinkedIn is a great place for inspiration as well, because there's so many fucking idiots. Twitter is the same, but it is short form, and you don't actually write anything because you're too busy just writing like a haiku about someone and just trying to get it retweeted so that, maybe someone will follow you, and you end up in that little weird cycle. But also with Twitter threads, you end up treating, like I said, it like that Twitter thread is the piece rather than the process. And this was someone, it was Bridget actually, messaged me and said, are you all right? You've been doing a lot of Twitter threads. I was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, I was just, no, that's my process. Because it's always been my process. It used to be. This is where you have to self-audit. I talked about this. You have to self-audit and go, okay, what's changed? Am I lying to myself? Self-awareness. And I went, okay, I said that. And I went, but is that true? What I said used to be, like with old Twitter, I would write stuff, go, oh, that's a nugget, that's a funny thing. It would go into my, I'd go away because there was no threads, or you only had 140 characters. You went, okay, that's a blog post. That's a really good post. What I would do is form that into something either on LinkedIn as an article or LinkedIn as, or something else. And it would actually become a fully formed piece. Now, the good thing about LinkedIn is that because there's a max as well, okay, so Facebook's different because there's no max, or I haven't reached it yet. There might be. But, LinkedIn has that you have to edit and structure and make sure that you are succinct as much as I can be. So LinkedIn is actually a really good place to write longer form than Twitter, but not as long as other places where I tend to be rambling. And what I realized was that was part of the reason why, first of all, it's very easy to get an audience on LinkedIn, because part of the reason why people don't talk about shit is because they're just trying to survive. Now, one of the things, like I was talking about what I used to say in workshops, which is cut the shit. You're here because you've got a target. You've got to get fucking this, meet this target. Be honest with yourself. We can have a values conversation all you like, but really, is that really why you're here? Is your destiny and life's fucking purpose to be shuffling through the CVs of people who, are desperate, and you've got to, and you go, okay, is that really what makes you happy? I doubt it. Cut the shit. Okay? Cut the shit. Be honest with yourself. And because good strategy comes from honesty. As I said, if you know your personal brand and you know who you are, and you know your weaknesses and you know your strengths, and you do a self-audit, you can then go outwards and know exactly what you're doing. This is why, when they talk, these LinkedIn people with purpose, with authenticity and all that stuff, again, they say it, but they don't do it. They don't live it. I live that shit. And that's why I was like with feminism. It's like, if you're on International Women's Day and doing all this shit, it's like you don't care. Corporate CEOs don't care about women any more than they care about fucking trans people. Okay, that's what I said. They don't. They care about getting up the next rung, okay, and that's it. It's not their fucking passion. And if a real estate agent says that they're passionate about fucking real estate, bullshit. See if they're passionate about real estate when you ask them if they don't if they take a cut on their commission. See how much they love it then. If you love something, okay, you can hate it less than other things in terms of making money. No, I'm streaming. What? Paul just came in and goes, did you call me? Like, I said I was streaming, and I yell on every stream. I don't know what you expect. Anyway, so I lost my train of thought. I love remote working. It's great. I love having him home all the time. Great. Wonderful. It's good. I love never having fucking a minute to myself. No, that's fine. I actually am saying, it's just, women know this. It's not even the fact that I've got my own space. The fact that they're here and you can't play my guitar and stuff, or I can't just fuck around. Can't sit and play Xbox, or whatever. I just feel like watched all the time. It's not because there's an issue. It's just, again, me. It's my shit. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, but, being honest with yourself about who you are, knowing who you are, and you go outwards from there, okay? This is a reason. This is why Jordan Peterson resonates. It's the other shit that's misogynistic, but none of that advice is controversial. I think most people would say work on yourself first. Know who you are, because you've got no place telling people anything, or you're a better salesperson. You relate better to people. You are a better communicator when you know everything about yourself. And that's not narcissism. That's just self-awareness, and it's just good strategy for a company, for a person, for anything, is to just know everything. Baseline. Where are you working from? If you don't have a baseline from where you're fucking going, how do you know where you're going? If you don't know, what the fuck? Anyway, but this is where these LinkedIn people say these things but without meaning it. And my audience is very much like, well, I actually know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to say, here's how you do real inclusion and diversity, everybody. Here's how you do real authenticity. I live it every day. And yesterday with International Women's Day, I said, when you are actually a feminist and you actually say about the problem and you don't just virtue signal and get on your knees for the men who do zero fuck all 364 days of the year and give them like little cookies of fucking, whatever, because, you might get up a rung, but then you go in and you start saying, well, hang on a minute. This isn't real. Your motives aren't pure, and you call it out. Now, obviously you do that in a way that you're not picking on any one person because you don't know someone's story and you don't know that, they might be, crippled by a mortgage and scared, or they might be under performance review, because some dude fucking, we know all of that stuff. It's not blaming other women. Stop being so fucking black and white in your thinking, okay? But you can talk about the straw man and sorry, I don't know what's going on here. Makeup dusted. Anyway, but you can talk about an idea, a straw man, and rip that down, okay? Because that straw man, as long as it's based in a truth or based in a cluster of behaviors, then you will be an effective communicator. Again, this is where those personas fit in. If you know who you're talking to, what you're trying to say, what you've got to say, and what you're trying to do, which is persuade. In my business, in what I'm trying to do right now is persuade people, that this thing is happening and it needs to be addressed because there's a downwind political impact to these little, these dark patterns and the decisions that people are making. And that this Coney 2012, transactional bros who need me to hook back, these tactics have an unintended consequence in terms of how they have been, repurposed and used to radicalize. And, they're not unrelated. It's not an accident. This stuff, history is such a great teacher, and this stuff, once we start looking at events, once we start looking at what happened and reverse engineering, which is what I did, I went back and reverse engineered my quarter century on the internet and tried to diagnose what happened. And it was stolen and it was used cynically. And there was when we were in good faith trying to figure out how to use social effectively and how to, build loyalty, how to, give people what they want using data and all that sort of stuff. Oops, sorry about that. See, that's true authenticity, okay? You don't want me to be too authentic, i.e., no makeup. No one needs that shit. But, I'm cool with this shit. But it's just, but the message that I'm trying to get across is that as an industry, we fucked up. As an industry, we need to fix it. We need to name the problem, and no one's naming the problem because they're too afraid to be perceived. This is the way that this weapon is sort of like this self-perpetuating cycle, which is that it's been co-opted by these forces of fucking capitalism and put us over a barrel to the point where if you critique war, if you critique, you go, hey, maybe your motives aren't as pure as you'd think, you get you're anti that thing. Are you this, or are you Mac, or are you PC? Are you Apple, or are you Samsung? Are you Milo, or are you coffee? You can see where this psychology sort of, rewired our expectations as users with these quizzes. And it also gave the benefit of, A/B testing people's fucking preferences along the way and measuring it and having that sold to the highest bidder and then used to nudge people, take our survey where we find out more about you based on all of this other stuff and we figure out a way to reach you and nudge you without your consent. Now, again, if that's a consensual thing, I have no problem with it. My issue is with consent. My issue is with, again, if someone wants to go in and have, surgery or some sort of elective procedure or, want to, melt off their fucking face or get their jet, whatever the fuck they want to do, it's not my business, okay? What I care about is that they've got informed consent and that there's not an imbalance of power in, or some sort of manipulative sales strategy behind the scenes when you think that maybe that this is some sort of social justice issue, or you think, when you're actually being manipulated into a sale. Okay. I've been open about the fact that I had, basically I had a gastric sleeve because I had a massive diverticulum in the fundus of my stomach, and it was causing me a lot of pain. And also I'd gained a lot of weight as a result of that over the years. And so it was basically like, well, let's get, it was either lose a third of that chunk of my stomach and have it sort of munted, or just go, fuck it, let's just have the sleeve. So it was a dual purpose thing. Okay. But it took me a long time to get to that place. It was a place of last resort. But what you see is a lot of surgeons who are giving this shit to 16-year-old girls. You see this shit all the time. You're seeing, just look at the weight loss surgery, what's happened here, which is that they go, yeah, they make all the right noises on the website. Okay. They say all the right things, but the process is vastly different. The customer experience is vastly different to what they've said, which is that they go, well, yeah, of course we're responsible. We have to be. If we're not responsible, or at least say we're responsible or tick these boxes, then, it's, anyway, I'm just saying, like, they say all these things like, it's last resort and all that stuff. But what I saw was someone who, me going, okay, this sucks. I'm exploring this as an alternative option because I'm losing my stomach anyway. I'd like to sort of get this shit under control. This is a twofer. I suffer severe fucking reflux. Can you do something? And I had this surgeon who said he would do a Nissen fundoplication and repair, because I've had like several failed things, okay, over the years. And I had some like scarring on my diaphragm that affected because I had a lung collapse, and it's scarring on my diaphragm, that whatever. And he said, I'll do a triple repair. I'll fix that. I'll do that. I'll do the fundoplication to fix your reflux. And, but I'm just saying, like, but again, people make all the right noises, so he said these things, but I found out sort of now 3 years later, I have severe like problems and complications from this thing. And I went to a different surgeon for a consult, and he looked at my CT, and I said, well, I had this fundoplication because I got a hernia and like it's all twisted and stuff, right? And an obstruction. And he turned around and he said, well, he hasn't done a fundoplication. I said, but he said he did. He says, well, he said he didn't. And I went, and it's not written down. And what they do is they tell the client, they told me that I made shit up, or that I was mistaken, as I'm not mistaken because I know my clinical shit and I take control of my body, because I've nearly died so many times at the hands of fucking, surgeons and all that sort of stuff. And I've been, I've taken it upon myself to know exactly everything about procedures. I'm pretty sure you would know. I'm not mistaken about that. Okay. So like, again, there's, what you do and what you say, your actions and what you tell people in order to sort of skirt beneath the surface and get away with shit because of greed, okay, and capitalism and all that sort of stuff. I've seen this. I've lived this process several times, okay. I've seen doctors who again, it's not unlinked to feminism, which is they think that women don't know their own fucking shit. I learned very early on to advocate for my own healthcare very, aggressively, and I'm not afraid to be a Karen when I'm in hospital. Not afraid, because they've nearly killed me before. Okay, wrong doses, leaving in fucking infected things, all sorts of stuff. Okay. So anyway, I'm just saying, like, fucking advocate for yourself. Don't be afraid to take up space, and don't be afraid to fucking speak. However, LinkedIn, Twitter, these things are designed for you to not do that, okay? And I understand why you can't speak up about these certain things, and why something like Coney 2012 gave people the illusion, okay? So I tend to not sit in judgment, okay, of people. I tend to understand, again, it's that principle, charity, principle, humanity stuff. I tend to understand largely where people are coming from. The shit that I say is never really personal unless you show up in my space flashing your dick around, and then it's fair game, but also it's to teach others. It's to model. I'm trying to model certain things and show people certain things, and sometimes you end up being there. You end up being the heckler. You end up being the naughty kid who I need to make an example of, okay, because I'm trying to make a broader point. Eventually, at some point, an hour in. But anyway, abandoning Twitter, Coney 2012 is linked to very much about this stuff about how I understand why things like Coney 2012 were effective. Okay, so for those who don't know, it's the 10th anniversary, this week, it was actually the 5th of March, but I had other stuff I wanted to talk about. And one of the criticisms of Coney 2012, okay, which was funny, and you see play out, is that it was launched at the time of International Women's Day, okay. It's funny how things fucking shift and change, because it's so weird to see women suddenly talking about, again, it's not the thing you need to know. It's not the same group of women talking. It's fuckheads on the internet, okay? Different groups of fuckheads. So I can't see many people who are, unless they're a bit dim, okay, like Jamila, whatever. They don't talk about one thing. What you tend to do is strawman these people as one group or one like set of thoughts and ideas. But what you'll see is that those who talk about periods and those who talk about bodies are not the same as those who are talking about, biology being a construct, okay? And also, when you are talking about these issues, it's okay to switch and go, okay, well, in this instance, this context, that's the case. Like socially, I still believe socially, assuming all things being not batshit and no authoritarians existing and no crazy fucking dimwits existing on the internet, legally, socially, if you transition, you're a woman. Wherever possible and where accommodations are made and, we can figure that shit out. I feel that a lot of that stuff is a design problem and a policy problem and we can figure shit out. Again, it's a funding problem, okay? Give everyone single cubicles. Give everyone fucking single hospital beds. No problem. Okay? Let women organise. Let anyone organise into any group and exclude any group they want. Who gives a fuck? Okay? Freedom of association. Get back to that. Easy problem solve. I think we've got an engineering and design problem. I tend to be in agreement there. Okay? I only stepped into this thing. Again, why I went back on Twitter. I stopped using Twitter in 2015, in 2017, because I felt like there was a debate happening there and Megan Murphy got kicked off and you needed more voices, okay? And I decided to use my first name, full name, and whatever social capital I had, okay, to try and my mistake was thinking that I underestimated this, was to try and get policymakers and people that I knew here to fucking listen. They wouldn't listen. Of course, they just blocked me, okay, and I was just another one of the fallen. But again, I tried. That was my motivation was to go, hey, this is a fucking thing. This is a problem, guys. Like this ends badly. It doesn't end well. We need to have a candid conversation. Okay, I talked about this with my Twitter bans. Like, if you don't see feedback and you don't have objection, bad policy happens without objection. Okay, and this is the same thing. Like, this whole Coney 2012 thing, the bandwagon, okay, this bandwagon effect. You need people like me. You need people who fucking hate bandwagons and you need people who are skeptical because crowds move in fucking crazy ways with this bandwagon shit, okay, bandwagon effect. And that's why we'll talk a little bit more about some of those older phenomena where they learned and realised that if you could manipulate enough people's emotions, it comes back to the toilet paper. You can make them do the toilet paper. You can make people do anything. Okay, same thing, bandwagon effect. Just because I don't say what it is and I talk shit and I'm just, waffling doesn't mean I don't ultimately know the principles behind it. I just think people aren't interested in fucking theory. Okay, I pepper it. Okay, I ease it in. I use lube. I use a lot of lube, obviously, because I got a massive fucking dick. I shouldn't have said that. That was too far. It's too far. Anyway, bend over, listen. So, yeah, see, this is why I'm doing my LinkedIn stream, but it's going to be I have constraints. Again, when I talk about LinkedIn, I like the boundaries of LinkedIn. I like the constraints of LinkedIn because the boundaries are clear, but also, like I said, you can talk to someone. So I found out that I can stream on LinkedIn. And I thought that I had 3 strikes. Turns out that, you know how I said I got the sympathetic LinkedIn customer service person? Looks like they removed my strikes. Because I said, like, that's a problem. And yesterday I actually called them out publicly on their page and say, what are you doing to fix this issue where guys will goad women on their comments? Women tell them to get lost because polite doesn't work. Blocking definitely doesn't work because they think they've won. They don't learn anything by you blocking them because they're flashes. But you need to make it so that women can defend themselves and set boundaries without this breaking the bias algorithm, okay? Because they did a hashtag break the bias. I was like, well, sometimes you need to rebias in order to, unbias things, okay? That's a correction. And there's a problem with your algorithm and support process here, which is that I'm glad that I got my account back. But in order to get my account back on LinkedIn, I had to say that I promised I wouldn't defend myself ever again, basically. I had to say I won't do this again. You have to promise that you're going to be professional and not do that again. And I was like, well, hang on a minute. I want to talk to someone. And I did. She removed my strikes, I think. She removed my strikes because now I'm cleared to live stream on LinkedIn, which I think is great because I talk about this business. But I'm going to do my own show. I'm going to make it professional. I'm going out after this stream to go try and find monocle, top hat and a moustache. So I'm professional on LinkedIn. But I'll give some honest advice and, talk more about answering people's specific questions. I think that's a good avenue for me to be relaxed, funny, honest, professional with a top hat. It's a good, but you get more cut through on LinkedIn because most people are dimwits, but they quietly agree. Like you might not get the traffic. You might not get you won't get the engagement. Okay. But I also see how many people look at my stuff. See, again, there's different metrics. Okay. I don't get engagements, but people see it and view it. And I see that people are reading it and I get messages behind the scenes. Okay. And that's the thing. It's like, well, the views are more important. And I'm not getting anywhere with YouTube or Facebook or anything like that. No one watches this shit on YouTube since I've been... The YouTube is biased towards outrage, culture war shit. So I'm just going to move into more strategic business stuff and talking about other things. And if LinkedIn might be that platform, I'm doing a separate show, still doing this because this is where I just riff. But honestly, like I don't see how fucking this is going to happen. They were only interested in anything I had to say when I was agreeing with everything that they said, throwing money at me like a fucking cam girl monkey that would do what they want them to do. And it's like, no, it was more complicated than that. I talk about what I want to talk about. I'm more expensive than $5 a month to fucking become your mouthpiece. Go fuck yourselves. Okay. Like I said, I'm like expensive. If you want to buy me, I'm expensive. So some people really need to up their price. Okay. So anyway, what was my point? Oh yeah, so the turning point with the internet was that it was very much about people just sharing and chattering and riffing and all that sort of stuff. Now my writing process used to be, well, just tweet and turn it into something. Okay, it became a thing. So it was a process thing. I'd do a tweet storm. Everyone thought it was funny because I would cut through because everyone was just still figuring out what this thing was. And they were still sort of in LinkedIn mode where they were like, I don't want to say anything on the internet. I'm scared. And I was giving people the courage to just banter and tweet. Like I model certain things and there's people who still credit me today with them, not being so self-conscious online. And, I wish people would be a little more fucking self-conscious, but I'm just saying, like, this is stuff that, I did for a reason. I'm not just an arbitrary fuckwit, right? I know what I'm doing. But it's just, because I know that when I say something that there's, 1,000 people who can't. It's just, that's a responsibility that, I take on. And I also know that I'm not going to get the feedback that I expect or that others would get. But I know that it's being seen and I know this. Again, not a fucking idiot. Be nice if more people gave me some actual money behind the scenes. But we'll see how we go there. But the problem is that I also believe in transparency. So, it's one of those conflicts where it's like, well, I want to tell people where my money's coming from, but that's the pickle that you end up in. That's why I don't list patrons at the end, like most people, because I go, well, I don't know. I don't know about that. Because there's people who just, I take these things seriously. I take these responsibilities seriously, but also this Coney 2012 thing. So what we learned from Coney 2012, the internet, before some of these key events, now this one this was 10, like this is, again, it's new, 10 years. People act like viral content, like the principles behind viral content, were always somewhat the same. Okay, this is why when advertising agencies took over, the advertising agencies took over, they kind of, they refined and perfected this model with a combination of, like data. It's why programmatic data marketing has taken over so well, because it's now people are fairly predictable. Advertising's fairly predictable, but there was a period of about 10 years before digital sort of became this shiny thing, and before social media became a thing, and when it was still mostly for nerds and deadheads and sort of bloggers and stuff. So I was, it was sort of 2004, 2005, 2000, probably later than that actually, where blogs started to be engaged with, like they were just written off by the media. They were just like, the internet's stupid. That's for kids. Get a life. Or why are you taking up my phone line? They don't, and some of us who were participating in this early stood out, okay? And so, but there came a turning point, like late 2000s-ish, where the mainstream media started to engage with bloggers, okay? So there's some history with Andrew Bolt, Miranda Devine, Clem Ford, all of those sort of people, and these journalists who I know what their usernames are from those old days. Bernard Keane was like, I know these people, and they managed to carve themselves and distance themselves from their online lives. I never did. And it's interesting to see how those who distance themselves from what they used to do and their behavior and all that stuff, and pretended that they never did this stuff, and pretended that they weren't horrible, and they pretended they didn't say certain things. Like I think that's part of the reason why people are afraid of me, because they know that I know shit about them. But, like I like to throw out those little things every so often on Twitter, and I go, hey, and I call them by their username and they block me. It's like, yeah, okay. But Andrew Bolt started to get into little fisticuffs with like the Melbourne blog scene and the, comedy bloggers and people who were writing. And then he realised that was interesting to people. So, I would live through this stuff. I knew this stuff. So that happened sort of late 2000s. This is how recent this is. Okay, and I know that's like still 15 years, but I'm saying it's culturally and historically, even, remember, even democracy, not that, liberal democracy as it stands now, is still fairly recent. Okay, it's not the default. Some things you might think because you live in them that they're not subject to change, or that they're not temporary, or that they're not recent. They are. Same thing with this internet stuff and this Coney. We learned from Coney 2012. Coney 2012 taught us an awful lot, as did a number of key things, like, Justin Sacco, this McDonald's stuff, the spill, the leadership spill, there's some of these key events that happen, the Oreo fucking thing in the Super Bowl, all these events, there's key, if you have a timeline of key events, Coney 2012 was a real turning point for how you did emotionally manipulative, viral social justice marketing. So, so I think I'm not going to like really tell you what happened. It's not my job to do that. What I'm going to tell you is what I think. Okay. You can look up Coney. You can watch the video. If you were there, you'll know roughly what I'm talking about. I might add to it. I might not. Okay. We'll see how we go. But if you were there, you were going about your day, arguing on the internet, calling people retarded with abandon. I ain't mad. I'm not bothered. I ain't bothered though. We're doing stuff. We were just sort of fighting on the internet and, doing our thing. I use Twitter I've always used Twitter somewhat as a broadcast. I've always been head in a jar, write a thing, fucking see who said anything, see the reaction, gauge the reaction, get back to work. Write something about what works, consult on what works, test this stuff. I'm a human data, I just have more data than most of these marketers, but I just, gathering data, right? and what works doesn't work, what works doesn't work, what I know, will go in a certain direction, what won't. I was doing that from fucking day one because I'm curious. Again, grew up with girls, having no idea. I had to observe people that way. I had to go, okay, that works, that doesn't work. Taya fucking said the wrong thing, don't say that thing. Taya said the wrong thing, don't say that thing. Okay. I didn't intuitively understand how to relate to these fucking complicated bullshit social dynamics of women where somehow when I'm fucking fighting under my real name, everyone still thinks that I'm a problem and I'm fucking fighting on LinkedIn, not under an anonymous Twitter account. I'm actually doing hard fucking shit because I refuse to move to the right and I'm using everything I have. I'm putting the fucking money down. And still, queen bees and the fucking turfs think I'm not worth listening to or engaging with. I'm just, because I say things that they don't like, such as trans is real, get over it and fucking calm down. I'm solution focused. Okay. Suddenly I'm a problem. Okay. Fuck them. I'm doing your work. Anonymous Twitter people. Doing more than you. Go fuck yourselves. So anyway... but again, just always sort of, testing. Again, I've been through this shit with mothers groups. Again, nothing's new here. I know what you want. I know when I've been through these things. I've been in the fucking group and then I've been the honest one who everyone loves my blog. Everyone thinks, oh, that woman speaks truth. Then I say something truthful that you don't fucking like and it's on. And you send 600 of your closest friends to harass me or now it's like WhatsApp groups and back channel screenshots and bitching and telling everyone to fucking ghost you and like, oh no, don't, just withdraw quietly from her because and then have everyone think she's fucking crazy. Thanks for being exactly like my ex, by the way, you fucking bitches. Anyway, happy International Women's Day, everybody. Again, I see things for what they are, okay, which is the women are bitchy. And if you can't see that, then you can go fuck yourself. If you don't think women are bitchy, then you're one of the fucking women who are doing the bitching. Same thing with the not all men. If you're one of those guys that says not all men, you're those men. Okay? Be self-aware. Research relational aggression versus physical aggression. Aggression between the sexes. Data. Facts. Okay, anyway. What was I saying? Forgot. I'm still ranting from International Women's Day. I'm still reeling from that. But again, it's just International Women's Day sits as another example of how causes are used by the cynical, by the greedy, by, it's basically Coney 2012 over and over again every year, which is that, this signalling bullshit without actually looking at the real issue. Now, Coney 2012, Joseph Kony, Uganda, okay? Bad guy. Okay, so in 2012, there was this 30-minute video that was basically high production values. It hit all of the empathy spots, hit all the pain points, okay, and it kind of caught everyone blind. So he's sitting there arguing on the internet, being the fucking internet, and then this video shows up on YouTube. Now, again, you need to understand that like some of this early YouTube stuff going viral there's this whole thing about going viral on YouTube, Jenna Marbles and, Charlie the Unicorn and, I can't think of it, all of those sort of key, Salad Fingers, all those sort of key characters and key things that are just going viral on YouTube was sort of, that was more of the thing is that the novelty of YouTube meant that it got a lot of attention. So they were always there was a part there where the news cycle was always looking for the next big YouTube viral video, okay? So there came a tipping point, so to speak, in, it was 2010. I was getting calls from paper talking about Twitter, talking about this, talking about how to use it, how I use it, why I swear, why I do what I do, all that sort of stuff. And then, I was like, people don't get it, still don't get it. Okay, you're never going to get it. You either get it or you don't get it. Okay, and that's been my fucking story forever. You either get me or you don't. I'm ahead. And when I say Twitter's dead and this is fucking dead and there's no point trying to do organic content, also don't bother putting your best ideas on social media. Turn it into something fucking better than that. Okay, that's some of my advice because it's just going to be stolen, repurposed, either not get seen at all and like not get traction and be there, or someone's going to steal it, and someone with more resources and time and, networks and all that stuff will steal your shit and take credit for it. People remain nameless, okay, who will just quote you or repeat what you say without fucking credit. So that's going to happen. So, but that, again, you got to go back to this time around 2010, 2011. Now, again, where you start the clock, it depends. Everything can go back to like the 90s, but I'm just starting the clock at sort of 2010, 2011, where Twitter became useful for mainstream media to perpetuate this constant global 24/7 news cycle. Now, the news cycle used to be more local. So you used to have this sort of local news cycle of Perth. Okay, so I'm in Perth, Western Australia. You'd have this local cycle of, what did someone say today? I was in that news cycle a lot. And I was always trending, often trending, often the person who people would try to get me to see stuff because to make it trend locally, all that sort of stuff. I sort of became an influencer. I didn't even know what the fuck I didn't want to be. So I just want to write, just want to create. I am influential. I don't want to be one. I just am. And influence, like with Ricky Gervais says, you want to be famous, kill a prostitute. Otherwise, just do what you do and, don't fucking care about that shit. Okay? I don't want to be famous. Okay? I want to do what I do and whatever fucking happens. Yes, I need to live, but whatever. Okay? I just want to do stuff. And that's always been the thing. But there's always those people who just want to be famous. And there were those people who would do that and they would say whatever they wanted, they would say, and they'd provoke me to try and get a reaction out of me, okay, or they try to take me down. I was actually cancelled fucking in 2010 by a mob, by an online Twitter mob. It was just a smaller mob, right? I went through this Justine Sacco shit and it got fucking horrible, but it just didn't happen at the scale that, that it's happened to me a couple of times actually, like at a small scale, and it's like, I don't know why anyone would do that shit. Why do you want that shit? Who would? It becomes necessary in terms of promotion and you're trapped in this machine, but, you shouldn't seek that shit out. You use these tools and you keep this, this is why this sense of self coming from likes and stuff is really deeply fucking unhealthy. Because when the internet does what the fucking internet does, you've got no foundation in which to figure out who you are and outside of the fucking, hate that you're getting. And that's the problem. Like, I think that, this is why you're seeing James Lindsay fucking melt down. Okay? Because he's wrong and he's doubling down on his wrongness and fucking, he's been widely fucking discredited at this point by anybody who knows what they're talking about. Okay? I'm going to do that on Friday. I'm going to go through some of this stuff, finally. Because I keep getting these fucking essays from these dudes that say the same bullshit over and over again. It's not true. Okay, so I'm going to be releasing this shit marked up with links. It's just like, fucking stop. Just stop. So, anyway. Also, did you know he used to be a fucking masseuse and wellness person? Gee, what are the odds of a wellness person moving into the culture wars? What are the odds of that? Who knew? If you know the internet and the history of the internet, and spend any time on LinkedIn, then you know this. Again, I know what I'm talking about. And I know where my audience is. And that's why with Twitter's just full of fucking, I know it's dead. I don't know. Anyway. So Twitter is just not a good use of time. It saps your creativity. It is bad for you. I've rationalized using it because it was part of my flow and process, which was that because I'm busy during the day doing things like design or whatever, I sort of just sit there and riff and think of things while I'm thinking. Like Twitter, think of Dr. House with the tennis ball. Twitter was like my tennis ball, where I sit there and I just sort of riff on things and just, now it's this. Now I'm just sitting here. This is my tennis ball, right? It's different. But now I don't need it because Twitter has passed its utility for me in terms of, Twitter was where I could just tweet storm and riff and all that sort of stuff. But now that I'm comfortable with video, I can just sit here talking on a stream and see who shows up, but watch it back and see what's good and all that sort of stuff. I don't really need Twitter anymore, other than as a sort of discovery and promotional tool. Okay. And that's where these social networks, this is where, downloading your data and taking it and going, okay, well, what can, 14 years of fucking content, lots of tweets, lots of good stuff. But what have you got to show for it when the platform's dead and you're not getting traction? It is gone. Your followers haven't moved in, years, okay, for various reasons, okay. It is basically captured by corporate people of fucking CIA and like the US government and corporations, and it's just, and these like Machiavellian fuckheads, who have no clue, who are just basically just, harvesting people's fucking deepest like fears and emotions and all of that stuff so that they can put it in a paper to meet their deadline without actually having to do any fucking real writing. Okay, so Twitter's not where real writing happens. Twitter's where lazy writing happens. And when you're a writer, okay, Twitter's where lazy journalism happens. Twitter is where lazy writing happens. Twitter is where lazy social interactions happen, okay? And that is not what it's supposed to be. Like for me, the original utility of it was that I would just riff, okay? Now, when I said about the "are you okay" thing, I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just riffing. I'm doing what I've always done. But it made me go, I was like, oh, people think I'm crazy. Oh, shit. People think I'm upset. Oh, shit. And when you're a woman online, do you know how many times men, you know what, after my International Women's Day posts and everything like that yesterday, do you know what I woke up to on LinkedIn? These dudes going, that was too long. That went on forever. Oh, man, she's fucking angry. She doesn't like men. Why are you so obsessed with men? You don't like men very much, do you? Fucking hell. It's like, no, actually, fuckhead, I'm writing persuasively about things that I know something about, and I am speaking for people who can't speak, and I just don't use emojis and soften the fucking edges like other women because you're a fuckhead, okay? I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm saying. Everything I do, everything I share is because I know that it resonates with people. Dickhead. But then I just wake up to this fucking thing. Oh yeah, men get essays. Elon Musk can turn around and say that nuclear power is not that fucking dangerous, or that radiation isn't that scary, and that they should open the fucking plants in Europe because, whatever, it's not that fucking bad. They still think he's a genius. And I can write what I know about, and I'm fucking angry and crazy. And I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I know what I'm just a woman talking. In a way you don't like, taking too long, being something more than tits. And something to fucking harvest and cook for you. Fuck off. Also, if it was too long, why are you replying with it? Why do you care? I love these people that reply and say, I don't care. Like with LinkedIn, I was like, with my stream, I said, I'm going to try not to swear on here, but I can't promise I won't. And if I do, well, you're an adult. Get over it. There's no if you're a child on LinkedIn, you're fucking weird. Don't be weird. Go to TikTok. Like, be an adult. Don't watch it. That's a choice, okay? And that's the thing, is it? Anyway, so that's setting that boundary. But the thing is, this is something that I found, and I wrote this about with LinkedIn, which is that women who assert their boundaries end up being a problem for men. Okay, women who assert this shit, and then we end up in trouble or getting strikes and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to go over that old territory. You can watch old stuff, but whatever. Live streams, verbal tics, they happen, fellas. Okay, why don't you do it? Why don't you live stream? Keyboard hero. Why don't you do the 3 years that it took for me to be confident enough to be doing this? And why don't you grow some fucking nuts and put yourself out here like this? Come on my stream. I'll talk to you. Okay? Smart ass. So, like these fucking guys, man. Oh yeah. Wow. Men love calling women's writing rants. Have you noticed that? You notice how when women write, they're called rants, or angry, or too long, or I got bored, or you need to be write shorter words, please, i.e. talk less, say less, Say fewer things of substance. Okay. Why can't you just, but then they sit there and they fucking interact and with these fucking dumbass selfie women. And again, you see these things and you go, yeah, I know what this is. So on International Women's Day yesterday, again, I know this stuff. Coney 2012. We learned a bit, which is that you can cynically take something, manipulate enough people's emotions, get them, create this bandwagon effect where even those that are like, I don't know anything about the issue in Uganda, but it feels good, and you share it without thinking. But there's also this social pressure to get involved and share it. You know, there's going to be these people that just it's their issue of the day and they're fucking going hard. They're buying T-shirts. One of the, it was actually really funny. So there was this campaign to try and get President Obama at the time to deal with this, Joseph Kony situation and, to get focused on all that sort of stuff. I can't, it was a lot of different requirements, requests, and it kind of got lost in it. It ended up working. Right? For fuck's sake. Thanks, Russia. Fuck off. I'm turning the chat box off. Cool. So, block. I've got a thing where if it puts caps in, it gets blocked. It moderates at least. So that's good. Just got to figure that stuff out. Anyway, so but we, Coney 2012, so we're just using the internet and it hit all our blind spots. So what it did, much like the black and gold, dress, right? The blue dress, black dress, the sneakers, all of these sorts of events, which might seem like, news of the day at the time, but I think they're more significant in hindsight than we even gave them credit for, which is that behind the scenes, people were learning from Coney 2012. Now, again, because you're in marketing and you go, okay, I reflect and I go, fuck, I actually sold this stuff without thinking about how it could be used in, negative ways. Okay. So everyone who is like doing this stuff is not necessarily, it's not necessarily cynical. Okay. It's not necessarily something that's done on purpose. It was something where we went, oh, there's a learning here. This is something where, look, these guys did this really well. If you can tap into this thing for the right reasons, okay, you will be successful. Okay, this will get traction. You can learn from this. Now, many tried and failed, and a lot of the people like me who are just really focused on virality, nailing down that stuff. Ultimately, I came to the conclusion that, at that time when I was focused on this research, I said, there's 80%, the right things, 20% fairy dust. Now, that fairy dust is now no longer there. That fairy dust is fucking the glitter from gold and money, right? You just got to pay and boost, right? You just got to have the money to do it. There's no fairy dust anymore. There used to be some magic, used to be some fairy dust involved, but there's not anymore. So, but with Coney 2012, it had all of the elements, okay? So plus the fairy dust and plus these things. So they ran this 30-minute video that was a motive that was, sort of get Joseph Kony. He's hurting all these kids. It was called Invisible Children. Now, the video focused on this white guy, okay? He made it about him and his kids for a charity that was headquartered in the United States. It was a campaign run by a not-for-profit organization in the United States with a film made by this dude who was talking about his children and centering himself and this issue, which is actually more complex than they let on. Okay, Joseph Kony's still large, by the way, which is interesting. But again, like this complexity in Uganda and this stripping it of its like nuance and complexity. There's that fucking N word again. The nuance of like, all of the history, and we're seeing that play out with Ukraine. We're seeing all of the fucking complexity, stripped of it, and it's just being used by various interests to see who's got who's got the most likes, which means that's the most support, which means that's what the journalists call for and push for because they think the data's backing them, and the data's wrong because everyone's fucked in the head because Kony fucked them up. Or at least, it was one of those things where, human flaws were exploited and we went, oh, hang on a minute. Now, unfortunately, those in the marketing community turned around and said, well, there's an opportunity here. What this does is highlight, this is what I've been, like for me, I remember in this workshop when Kony happened, and I had a workshop, I think 2 days later. No, a day later. Yeah, it was a workshop meeting, and I'd been saying this for years. I've been talking about this shit in 2009, okay, but in 2012, and I had a workshop, and I literally was like happy and relieved at that someone was that there was an example, like an actual example that I could show, because again, sometimes when these things are new and emerging and hard to explain, you end up with a lot of complexity, such as like when I'm trying to talk about and digest where things are going with the culture wars. There's a lot of history and a lot of stuff you need to understand for me to get to my point, and for you to understand why I'm saying what I'm saying. That happened again with social media. Like again, this was new. People were like, what the fuck? What happened? And they're like, this is a novelty. And you're trying to tell corporates and explain to corporates why social is important, not just people chattering on the internet all day and, ASLing all day, but actually there's communities forming. There's if you can get this formula correct, that there's an opportunity there for brands to connect with influencers and have a win-win sort of commercial situation, because again, these tech companies were struggling to monetize at the same time. Again, these things, there's history, there's key things here where the money, the business model, the inducements and incentives, which I'm nicking, plus these tentacles that Ontologics mentioned the other day, that and all these things just sort of collided into, and our own human vulnerabilities and all those things collided into, and greed and learning, always learning, data-driven marketing, constantly going, okay, well, Coney 2012, that's the benchmark. Okay, so what we know from Coney is that people love emotional content. They like being moved by an issue. But what we also know is that they like that issue to be drilled down simply and stripped of its fucking complexity, okay? What's more likely to happen is that, because, again, if you don't know what's happened in Uganda in the history, everything has lots of stories. There's always a reason how people get where we get, okay? There's always a story. And it's when you listen to the story, it's never as straightforward. Same thing with principle of humanity. When someone's being horrible or whatever, usually there's a reason why they got there. Most of the time with men, it's because they hate their mothers or their ex. But, whatever. It's also not my problem. I'm not your fucking, therapy blanket. Go fuck yourselves. I don't need to put up with it. But it doesn't mean I don't understand. Okay. Doesn't mean I don't understand that you feel that you might be getting displaced, because really you've got issues with women having opinions and you won't face that in yourself. Okay. That's not, again, something you've got to deal with, but it's also something that I try to fucking poke in you so that you fucking change your behavior. It's a loving fucking thing that I do. It's tough love shit, Sometimes they just need to be told to fuck off, because not many people will or can. So, but what we learned is that people, you can hit certain buttons. Now remember, this was when they didn't even know about like button and dopamine, okay? That study was, all this emotional, this was sort of new. This was, I think that study, that dopamine, I had a hypothesis about this shit, and I was going to study, one of those things. I studied some of the neuroscience about this, but it was too boring, and I was like, oh shit. But it's like, this has to have some sort of impact in terms of neuroplasticity. And I was reading all this stuff about neuroplasticity and, and I was like, but then the research came out. This is how early, I'm ahead of the fucking research and most of these things. It's just that I'm not a researcher, so I don't get to, do this, and you can only do so much. I just prefer to just be ahead and just say, I'm more of a futurist in this regard. But what I said was observing people's behavior. They're not behaving the way that I would think. What I'm seeing is, because I understand the internet inside out, is that these people they're the people that are attention seekers and trolls and like to cause, they're kind of incentivized to, like, all the fucking dickheads are going for this stuff. All right, there's a class thing here. There's a middle class thing here. There's I'm not so sure about this thing. Seems like it's a way of them, because again, when you're on the ground, you see the behavior and you go, okay, well, the people that are bullying online and the people that are doing nothing politically and the people who don't know about politics, what they did with Coney 2012 was take the emotional rhetoric of this man who centered himself rather than the victims and told his story. So there's a lot of criticism, this whole white savior complex, this othering of like a problem and, you know, turning like this white dude has all the answers and he's doing it not because, you know, he's getting involved because he wants a future for his kids. And, you know, that's not the world he wants as a white American man mobilizing. You know, you can see the fucking, and then what you had was a whole bunch of fucking people wearing t-shirts glorifying the person and the persecutor that had, you know, hurt a lot of fucking people on t-shirts and being reduced to a meme, okay? And so being reduced to a meme is not benign, okay? Because what it does is it's again, another thought terminating cliche, okay? And so it stops people thinking. Funny, relatable, simple, jokes are good. But in the instance of something like political action, there's implications. Like, again, this is not something that was new with Coney. Obama won in 2008 because of data and because of this stuff, and they were watching online. They were ahead of it, like, you know, like some of us, right? Same thing with like the spill, like hashtag spill in Australia when Julia Gillard and, you know, Kevin Rudd went at it, and, you know, all that sort of shit played out on Twitter. Like I said, I've spoken at a conference in 2010 about that. Okay, and you need to be aware that people are going to start using politics like a sport, and they're going to participate, and it's going to be a participatory democracy without your participation or input. And if you don't start to participate, you know, like this could get away from you. That's what I said, 2010. Okay, you know, to a room full of women parliamentarians, and you know what they did? They went and they used it as a marketing tool and like just top-down messaging and fucking missed it. The few that got it, like, you know, they did well. But anyway, I'm just saying. It was just, yeah. So I spoke to that room with my IP to every federal and state female politician in the country and said, you need to be on this. And they went, why? And I said, here's why. I was sick that day, so it didn't work very well. But, you know, at the same time, I'm not, when I say I'm talking, yeah, anyway. So it's by the by, but I'm just saying, like, you know, these things aren't new. I'm just saying that I saw it, and I know it wasn't pre-Coney. Sorry, there were people who knew this in politics and saw the campaign, the way we could do campaigning and all that sort of stuff. There was also people in marketing early on who saw an opportunity. Now, it was mostly the ad agencies that took over post. You know, a few savvy agencies were doing it early, but there was a mass exodus and takeover by advertising agencies of digital around 2010, 2011, where your average consultant and freelancer was sort of pushed out, and people started, you know, just going back to their old agencies going, okay, what about this digital thing? And they were like, what the fuck? And then they were hiring all the consultants, okay? And there's very few independent consultants who stayed independent, and they started working in ad agencies as digital strategists, and also PR firms started doing it. So there's a couple of people in PR that would probably credit me with being their teacher and fucking mentor and inspiration, even though they wouldn't say it now because they're fucking scared, okay? Because they sold their souls to corporations in 2011. It's just how it was. Okay? And I know, they know, and I know that I know what the fucking happened. That's why I'm here to remind people of history on LinkedIn. But so there was this corporate takeover, so that it became this new industry with corporations, advertising agencies, tech companies, business as fucking usual. It was stitched up. And there were people like me who remained independent, stayed true to the cause, and went, you know what? Like, this is not something you can just impose like the standard like model on. You can't do that. You won't do that. You won't succeed. I was wrong there. Turns out you can if you're just fucking slippery. So something like Coney, because I was like, you know, in the area, what I saw was these sort of advertising agencies with pitch decks saying what we can learn from Coney 2012. Okay. And so this is where things like analytics and that stuff and measuring and data and, you know, A/B testing. Okay. So Coney 2012, much like the US government hired the Nazi doctors. Okay. And figured out where they got caught, how they could get away with fascism light without going into full fascism. You can't. We're seeing that, okay? But how you can, because, you got to, people are people, right? Same thing, but, there's always these idiots who think they're smarter than gravity, and they jump off roofs and they fucking, all these billionaires in hot air balloons think they're above the fucking gravity until it comes crashing down, until they realize that gravity is a thing and that their money, power, influence, fucking networks doesn't change the fact that gravity exists. And people are somewhat, when behavior is somewhat like gravity, okay? It has variance, yes, depending on altitude and, the environment and, all of those sorts of things, okay? I don't know if gravity is affected by altitude. See, this is why I talk about three things. I don't fucking know what I'm talking about. But, there's certain rules, there's certain principles, there's certain laws. And I know those laws because I fucking built those laws, and those fucks stole a lot of my IP. Okay, because I was talking on Twitter and they would just take it and repurpose my shit, and I never found time to write properly, and all of those sorts of things. I never had the resources or set up to write the things or be set up in the way that I set up. Got distracted, I got pulled into corporate consulting and thinking that digital transformation was my thing. I really should have stayed at root and at fans and audience building and persuasiveness. I'm actually just getting back to where I started a lot of this stuff, because I fell into corporate fucking user experience wanker consulting and talking about all this value and mission statement shit. And it's like, no, it's all shit. Stop it. You stole the internet. Stop using it. Get off it. Let people be. And if there's an audience there, you go to them and you offer them a lot of money for their audience. Okay, you'll find an influencer wherever you need to. Okay, let the market decide. But unfortunately, these guys had to manipulate the market in their favour, and using the things like the Obama campaign and Coney 2012, and all of these sort of things that hijacked emotions and had people just share without thinking. Turning a complex political issue into a meme. For, to cynically raise, not cynically, at the end of the day, the money still went to an organisation that needed money, and they kind of achieved it was how they achieved it that drew attention. And it was also this whole white saviour shit, okay? Because it's not a Ugandan charity. The victims, see, the thing is that this is where some of these, these woke things, they got a point. Especially when you're a woman and you see this thing on International Women's Day. See how it's all related? Talk about three things. Which is this hijacking by well-meaning saviours. Okay, in this case, it's dudes on LinkedIn doing a tenth of the fucking effort of those who actually have a richer, longer story that might make people a little more uncomfortable, okay, because God forbid a woman be talking and be angry and legitimately angry. So what this does is it strips it of its complexity, but by stripping something of its complexity, like an issue, whether it's feminism, police brutality, race relations in America, critical theory, okay, which is based on the United States the political legal system, okay, postgraduate law program, part of jurisprudence, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, postgrad jurisprudence, okay, which is critical analysis of the law. That's it. And how they can fucking look at the law differently, and when you actually read it, it's fucking right. Don't disagree. That theory has been applied to Indigenous populations and applied locally, but somehow through decades, you need to start differentiating between idiots online and the scholarship. And unfortunately, James Lindsay doesn't, and gurus who aren't those people. The big thing for me with critical theories, and I'll talk about this on Friday, was that he was quoting Robin DiAngelo as if she was a scholar, as if she was an academic, and she's just a workshop person like him. It's just, this is a market share thing. This is the market share battle. It's not got anything to do. There's no academic fucking anything. And what he does is he uses like journalists and fucking, all these people who aren't actually critical theorists. He doesn't talk to one of them, okay? Again, Kimberly Crenshaw, valid, okay? I joke about it being a pamphlet, but that was, again, these are jokes, right? it's anyway, hang on, just give me a second. Let me just, because this time of day when the day shifts, it's just, hang on, let me do it. Okay, I need to get more control over the lines, but that's okay. Anyway, so I'm going to try and find and buy some new lights because they're getting on my tits. Anyway, but you know, there's again, it's this guru culture that utilizes, and this has risen out of the internet, okay, which uses, it's not a coincidence that these things come out of people's deepest, darkest, most, you know, fears, but also in areas where they don't necessarily have expertise or knowledge, okay. Health communities, wellness, okay, diet, vegan shit, okay, but it's also emotional. So, you know, the reason why the vegan communities go batshit and it's a funnel into anti-vax is because there is an emotional thing there about animals. There's a grain of truth and there's a core thing that is quite distressing there, okay. People want to help. And then what happens is that gurus move in and exploit these fucking fears and give people the easily packaged answers that make things a lot more simple, you know, like such as, you know, like drink almond milk. Well, almond milk actually consumes, you know, like or do these things or only have cotton and not have these things from, you know, blah, blah, blah. And you go, well, there's also unintended consequences there. So the role of a policy person is to go, okay, well, what are all of the potential fucking pitfalls here? You got to yes and everything, but you got to find the holes in things. That's good policy work. Is that's what the consultative process is supposed to fucking do. And Twitter has created, and these journalists have created this undemocratic, easily gamed. I mean, I'm not saying the consultative process isn't easily gamed, but I'm saying it's at least requires effort. It doesn't just, you know, you can't fraud. You can at least verify the information that you're getting in a consultation. You can, you know, talk to people, right? Even with ratings, even with a phone call and ratings, you're still, you know, Nielsen ratings and stuff, there's still a phone call involved with a human. It's not, you know, an army of bots, right, from a foreign nation making you think that this is public opinion when it isn't, and then also creating an effect where people can't speak up because everyone thinks that this is consensus. So therefore, those that fall outside of consensus are a problem and they get sort of censored. And then you have this sort of feedback loop of you know, good intentions, manipulation, you know, fear, knee-jerk stuff, and everything. At the end of the day, everything's complex. People are complex. But, you know, we're also with complexity. There's vulnerability and blind spots and unintended consequences for everything, whether it's tech, whatever it is, okay, policy, law, anything. That's just humans are going to make shit vulnerable because we're fuckwits, okay. So Coney 2012 really just sort of exposed a lot of those gaps. So what happened was they created this. So what was sort of hang on, let me just fucking, I hate this time of day. What was quite remarkable about Coney 2012, okay, or Coney, was that first of all, it was this first thing where Americans moved in and without our consent and just took over the internet, decided the Americans felt something and it was everyone else's fucking problem, okay? That happened. I'm going to talk about Hey It's Saturday at some point in the podcast. I might have my friend on to talk about that. That might be a good guest to talk to. About what happened with Hey It's Saturday and Harry Connick Jr. and when they did blackface on an act here. America got the shits on, and we, you know, like these on the internet, and it was shared on the internet. It's another event that happened where Americans and people realized. Unfortunately, people just seemed Australians are fucking. I don't know why. I think it's just because American culture is so dominant, and because we all speak English, they don't realize. It's been such a slow creep of culture and like this this heavy hegemonic force. Unless you know about this, you assume that, you know, that we're culturally the same, and we are not. Okay, so, and unless you were around the sort of old internet and that sort of eternal September shit, right? You know, like they don't realize what an imposition Americans were on the internet. And so what happened was that, you know, the Americans would get the shits on about something and our day was ruined. And it's like, well, no, you know, like it doesn't have the same context here for a start and all of these things. But, you know, eventually fucking Hey got cancelled over the, I think it was one of those early fucking bandwagon cancellations, right? I've got an old Facebook group. It's like, remember when it was like Taya likes bandwagon? You used to do group jokes, right? Now you do group tags, which is funny. But I actually have a group called Bandwagons. I love bandwagons because it was actually, that was when it was happening, was, you know, around those times. Anyway, I'm moving around time-wise. But so Coney really sort of crystallized that was something, a gameable, manipulatable model that cracked a lot of things that a lot of us intuitively knew, but we could refine it down into something that it had all of these like different moving parts that could somewhat guarantee, like you'd be in the news cycle for the day online. You could be, you know, I did this early with the iPad thing, but, you know, I already knew this, but you could hijack the news cycle by using a number of different tactics. So one of the tactics that they used was to create this page where you would say who you want it. So like on Twitter or whatever, there'd be journalists or a public figure. And what you would do was fill out like much like where you do with the crowdfunding or change.org, where it was, you could actually type in, you know, who you were wanting to share it with, and it would auto share like an article and information and stuff. And what would happen was you get influencers. So it was a ground up. So what you'd do, this was, you know, before it was really most of the bots were just iPad spam, but they were being used for this purpose as well. Again, I'm not saying that this one was, but I can see how you might, on a step 2 of this, start to automate this. Okay, there was no evidence really that I could find that they were using bots to spam celebrities or anything, but there was a point where, you know, this could have happened. I can't say it could. I can't say it didn't, and I can't say it did. I've got to look a bit for, you know, yeah. It was too long ago, and there's, you know, not a paper on it, so, you know, you can't really validate that information anymore. I could probably search the hashtag, but, you know, fuck it, it's not worth it for like one stream. But what happened was, let's just assume that it was possible, because what happens is even if they didn't, they would have learned very quickly that you can automate that stuff, or that you can harass a journalist. Like what you'll see now is that was really planted there, which was where you can, and Obama as well, where you can, you know, sign someone up to a thing and they would then pass it on to their friends and family, okay? And when you are measuring that, you can then, you know, refine that and manipulate that over, let's say, I don't know, 10 years, and get better at it and automate it and make it smarter and have AI run it. And then you end up in a position where everyone is trying to reach these fucking people and journalists with all sorts of shit. No one knows what's true anymore, okay? So a lot of this stuff happened in these times with, you know, like Coney 2012 was somewhat of a turning point with that. Okay, so, and I know my stream's gone a bit too long. It always does, because once I need to make sure that I'm only talking about one thing, because it's, you know, I might try to cut this one up, but I probably won't get time. I'm so far behind on work and everything. Oh, I've got so much to do. I've got an assignment due on like Friday. Fucking whatever. Anyway, so fat waste of time. Still get called stupid. What's the point? Let's just pour another fucking degree and some more debt on that, so you'll never get a house, Taya. Good job. Okay. So anyway, but you know, so a lot of this stuff is what happened with Coney was that, you know, they had this sort of this perfect storm of like highly emotive, well produced, fucking American centered content. Okay, it has to, you know, about talking about an exotic other, where America, you know, was sort of you know, fucking Americans, and their virtue signaling shit, guru culture. Okay, so this guy was a savior. This guy knew all about this issue, and he was merely bringing it to light. Okay, you know, the sort of not-for-profit, you know, like again, you can see where this network of 501c4s became like, you know, seeded there. Again, like philanthropy has done that since the beginning of time, but at the same time, that model became. It was like, oh, you can do that moment, right, with Inventing Anna. You know, it's like, oh, Coney was like an Inventing Anna. Oh, yeah, okay, I see exactly what they're doing here tactically. And you go, okay, let's replicate that and make it better. And that's what's happened. And it's like, okay, these guys made $5 million in a week. They got 30 million fucking eyeballs on this thing. All we need to do, Dove, is put some fucking, United Colours of Bennett on this shit for the internet and, but strip it of its nuance, strip it of everything and just start doing like nothing but simple thought-terminating content that has the one benefit of making us fucking look like we've actually got values, which we don't, because we're really only here to meet our KPIs and make more money. We're not really here. So why am I in this workshop? I got shit to do. Why are you forcing me to be in this 4-hour fucking workshop talking about why I'm here? I'm here for the pay, fuckwit. Where do I see myself in 5 years? Hopefully not here because you're a cunt. I want to win lotto and go to the beach. Let's be honest. Cut the shit. Okay? I have my purpose and I pay the price for it. Okay? My purpose is a luxury. Okay? Because my husband, if he whatever happens, I'm fucked. Okay? So I shouldn't say that, but it's like I'm not fucked. I can always go back. I'd have to go back and behave and earn money because I don't know, there's a penalty attached to speaking your mind and being honest and setting boundaries, especially as a woman and especially as a working class person who doesn't want the fucking charity and pity of rich people. I'm not there, you're not my fucking savior. Like these guys on LinkedIn who are saying, oh, it's not fucking Mother's Day. It's political fucking acknowledgement of workers and women's rights. Thanks for the flowers and card, like I said on my post. I hope it wasn't too inconvenient to get to stop at the last minute on the way home for your fucking flowers, fuckface. I'm saying it's not not my birthday. Go fuck yourselves. It's a recognition of a major movement in both women's and workers' rights. If you're anti-workers' rights, you're anti-women. If you're anti-women's rights and workers' rights, or sorry, the other way around. IWD. Sponsored by John Deere. Get fucked. Get fucked with that shit. Break the bias. Eat my shit. Anyway, so I won't stay too long, but so really what Coney did was they sort of, they really, it wasn't so much that they did anything new. What they did was they put it all together, okay, into something where it's like, oh, okay, a charity where a white dude talks about himself, raises $5 million in a week, okay? There's no real transparency, but we can sell merch. We can move people to share our shit. We end up on the news. We also get this sort of slight benefit, marginal, almost accidental benefit of achieving what we actually meant to achieve politically, even though it's still at large. But I'm saying the actual outcome was to draw attention to it to the president, which, that worked, okay? But again, he learned from it. He refined the model. He fucking knew what was going on. He's probably, again, it's just, he learned from that. He only probably learned about the issue because they were fucking paying attention for more cynical reasons, right? Again, maybe not cynical at the time, but in retrospect, quite cynical because there were people like me talking about ways that you could use this stuff not cynically and use it to genuinely engage in democracy and achieve genuine types of things, but instead, because of the way that the American political system is, and also how dominant their culture is on everyone else, we decided that going negative and using these tools as a way to suppress and slag off and put people under surveillance and cancel our enemies using the news cycle rather than actually engage it and have great conversations. That this was used in a way that was cynical. There's still a good way to use all these things. There's still the right way to use all these things. Just no one listened to me. They patted me on the head. They called me stupid on LinkedIn 28 years after. Fuck me. And it's like, and I'm sitting here fucking, too ugly for OnlyFans. So this is all I got. OnlyFans with homework and thinking and challenging shit. But anyway, so, because, obviously I can't, it's been compromised and you can't build new tech that will do this stuff from the ground up there needs to be the political will, and there isn't because you've got all these people on LinkedIn. So my goal, this is why I think LinkedIn is probably a better place to focus because Twitter's full of nitwits who are only focused on their next meal. Meal being figurative in many ways, which is not just literal meal, but also their fucking next hit of dopamine or their next fucking, argument, their next shit fight, okay? Facebook, same thing, okay? Facebook's a little different because you've at least got the groups and you've at least got, I prefer Reddit, LinkedIn, but also I realized that Twitter and Reddit and LinkedIn and my blog make me a better writer because I'm more focused on writing rather than fucking tweet storming and then thinking that Twitter thread is fucking enough. And that's where you fall into that laziness because I'm busy and, Twitter and stuff. It's just not good. It's just not productive. And there's a direct relationship between Twitter and my mood, Twitter and my output in terms of writing. Like I've written easily 10,000 words this week, and that's not including my assignments or anything else, okay? I've read more. I have been listening to more audiobooks. I've been doing more shit that I should be doing rather than reacting to fucking stupid shit and reading mindless fucking takes from idiots, okay, who are arguing with bots. If they just click on a fucking profile and look, that they'd see that they're arguing and reacting to a bot who is trying to get to Glenn Greenwald or, all of these blue check people and convince them to fucking share their Coney 2012 of the fucking day. Okay, and get to them and get them to knee-jerk share a thing and react to a thing. And then you have people who see how this works and they decide that they're going to report only on this news cycle and they get trapped in it because there's a bunch of hungry fuckwits with money who may not walk around in Coney 2012 shirts anymore, but they're definitely walking around in fucking beanies and they're paying for, access in Patreon and communities and they're paying for this echo chamber of fucking everything, all fucking fueled by Americans. What gotta fucking, save the world on this fucking area and not, rather than shut the fuck up and stay out of things for fucking once. And maybe stop yapping and chewing and listen to what other people have to say. Oh, sorry, Australia. Can't be bothered trying to listen. Where'd you get that accent? Mad Max subtitles. You're talking too long. Oppressors. Oppressors telling us that we're talking too much, taking up too much space because because all of the space is taken up by them. And anything that questions or challenges the fact that their space is more important than our space, even when they show up uninvited with an unsolicited essay or unsolicited feelings or unsolicited unsolicited, what's the word? Discomfort over the word sex and turning it into gender. Well, that fucked everything up, didn't it? Turning gender into a fucking thing. America, all because you're too scared to write sex on a form, you Puritan fuckwits. Suddenly that's all our problem. And suddenly my comments being invaded by men is my problem. And suddenly the whole internet fucking, ganging up on this guy who's a bad guy, but because Americans have got a fucking hard on for fucking grief porn and spectacle because their media is batshit and cynical and they live in a fucking oligarchy. Oligarchy. That suddenly that's fucking Uganda's problem. Ukraine is fucking, Russia, it's Ukraine's problem. Everything is, all these powerful people is always the fucking victim's problem, isn't it? And if they complain about it, what's wrong with them? They're crazy. Talking too much. Why are you taking up space? What you got to do is give it to me in 30 seconds. What you got to do is give me 7 top tips. What you got to do is make it shorter. Preferably not at all. But if you're going to have to talk about this shit, make it snappy because I got fucking domination to do. These fucks. I'm going to talk about you. And what you do in your behaviour and what your behaviour does to others and what signal it sends, which is when you tell women to stop talking. And it doesn't matter what it is. When you tell them to stop talking, whatever, whether it's edit, do it quickly, fucking hurry up. That is something that women have been told since the day we were fucking born. Maybe we got some shit to get off our chest, fuckhead. Okay? I think we've got some shit to get off our chest. Same with America. I got some beefs with what the Americans did to our internet. and American corporations and American fucking political bullshit. And Coney 2012 became the fucking gold standard for all of this stupid shit that we're seeing now. Where I, citizen of Australia, who has done nothing but work hard and do what I do best, which is the internet, and I talk truth, which is what we're supposed to have done, and I basically just, did my part of the deal, met my end of the deal, and now you're coming in and telling me that I'm a problem and I can't be on your fucking internet. Well, you can go fuck yourself. I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to remind you what you are enabling. Dudes, institutional power, hegemony, imperialism, white saviour shit, male saviour shit, okay? I got to work on my white saviour shit, okay? I get that. I understand that. Hear that. Again, it's not a cult. It's an idea. I hear it. Feedback. Noted. I hear it. I'll change. Fuck me. Not a cult. But similarly, if you're like imposing this DEI shit, this corporate American DEI shit that doesn't apply here, no, it doesn't apply here. Do you know why? Because Australia's richest man is fucking making it his personal project to hire more Indigenous people in the fucking company, give them actual access, and he's doing everything he can fucking do. Okay? He's not fucking Bezos, fuckhead. Okay? Whatever. I'm going to go. Coney 2012 was the template that got perfected. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to edit this. Probably won't. I say I'm going to edit all the time and I don't. Fuck it. No, I'm not going to. I've got a LinkedIn show that I'm going to do tomorrow. It's going to be interesting, where I give honest business advice. If you've got a question, preferably funny, or like preferably something that people are afraid to talk about, and I just say the truth. Like one of them is based on your experience being a woman in tech, this is something that's been asked me a lot. I'm going to address that. And I'm like, well, don't have kids. How do you succeed in tech as a woman? Don't have kids. It's truth. That's the kind of shit that I'm going to do. It's going to be funny. It's going to be inappropriate. But I think that might be fun. Just something to play with and find my voice, because LinkedIn's always been good for me. It's always been good to me as well. LinkedIn, you can talk to a person. Twitter just bans you for being a fucking, not American woke fuck. Twitter gets you, you get banned for like being a fuckwit there too, but you also get caught up in the like net of fuckwits and assume that you're one of them just by being smart. It's fucking stupid. Twitter's fucking, fuck Twitter. I'll still use it, but it's not, it's going to be like fourth in line. It's just not, I've realized it doesn't actually I've actually had more traffic, more interest. I've looked, my traffic goes up, my views go up, everything goes up when I'm doing LinkedIn, because I'm speaking to an audience that needs to hear what I've got to say, and it resonates and it's truthful. Twitter, they don't want to fucking hear anything. They're all too busy. It's all fucking, 40%, I'd say maybe even more than that, bots that are just trying to get to journalists to get them to spread their shit. And there's a useful idiot born every minute. It's not there anymore. Anyone smart is off it, I think. Right? Honestly, I think you won't even be seen. You don't even get seen anymore. I won't be seen. I can't even be, yeah. So what's the point? Go where you can be seen. Go where no one is talking and you're the only voice. It's what I used to be on Twitter. I'm going to use the same strategy on LinkedIn. Be the only voice, because that's where you get traction. Be different, interesting, novel. Okay? As long as you do it responsibly and you are, getting cut through, people will, and you're telling the truth and you're showing up, you will find your audience. LinkedIn at least meet their part of the fucking deal for now. But it's you can get you can still get organic cut through on LinkedIn, which is interesting. Anyway, I'm going to go, especially when you just fucking use idiots for your own purpose. Call them out and say, that's bullshit. Stop it. You don't care about trans people. Stop using them. See, again, when you're armed with the facts and you've done all the work I've done and you know the history, I then put the onus on them to prove that I am fucking wrong. And I go, you know what? What have you done? How are you using trans people? I'm not transphobic. You can call me that. That doesn't work. That's used by people like you to shut me up. I'm defending trans people against people like you so that you don't force disclosure in the workplace and use them as a fucking virtue signal, Coney 2012. You fucking hetero saviour, you. Turn it back on them. You cis saviour. Turn it back on them. I'm going to do the cis saviour. That's funny. I'm going to do that. White saviour, cis saviour. Fuck it. See, you sit there haggling over I'm not cis. You go, no, do you want to win? Here's how you win. You win by persuading. Okay, what else you got? What else? What's next? How do you persuade? Yeah, I agree. All right, okay. So how do you convince someone who says, yeah. You go, no, okay, well, why are you using it? You're not trans. Have you been told to use that? By who? Who told you that you needed to use your pronouns? Oh, you read it in a blog, did you? Oh, was that advertising? Was it branded content? Oh, okay. Who? Tell me where. Like when I called the ABC out on the vulva owner thing. And it's like, where'd you get your data? Where was that decision made? What's the history there? Where do we start the clock with this fucking action that you're doing that's like got consequences that you're not aware of? Because last time I checked, I've been talking about consequences for like ever, and I've always been correct. So maybe I'm correct on this one too. Maybe you should listen so you don't look like you're a fucking idiot. Or worse, end up complicit in something that you didn't sign up for, sweetie, which was forced disclosure by corporations of vulnerable people being under the guise of fucking what's your identity and sharing sessions and bleeding sessions and DI sessions. Forced disclosure. Othering of black people, white saviour complex, fucking talking over them, taking over the conversation with your signalling and leaving them out of the conversation. Dudes posting Happy International Women's Day like that's fucking, an afterthought between jerking off to porn and yelling at TERFs online and getting women fired for fucking talking too long and boring them and writing books and not fucking hiring them. Thanks for that, guys. Noted. And then it's like, this fucking this new cis saviour thing where it's like, okay, well, you got people who fucking hate trans people on one end, and you got these cis saviour fuckheads who are talking for and behalf of trans people, real trans people, or claiming trans identity as theirs. So if anything, women and trans people could actually fucking connect on this issue if they really wanted to, and we're trying to understand what the shared core issue was, which was appropriation of pain and appropriation and use of that by corporate fucking cynical interests. If you yes-anded this trans thing and acknowledged that trans people existed and that they're in the same fucking boat, rather than arguing purely about, you go, okay, what's the root cause here? Appropriation, capitalism. Oh, no. What we're going to say is none of these people in our prisons. But we accept that prisons need to happen. We accept that women need to go to prison for non-violent offences. I mean, that's a given. We wouldn't challenge that. Or we accept that there's 4-bed wards. We accept that like corporate boards exist with like $1 million CEOs or like, $70 million or 500% of what the average employee's salary is paid to American CEO or whatever. I can't remember what the stat is. Or, I'm happy to prop up the military industrial complex and actually just do nothing and have a morning tea that says, embrace your femininity, ladies, and put on here's a fucking gift bag with lipstick and champagne. Let's have a drink. But you're not prepared to go, what's my role in this? Perpetuating this stuff. No one does that. I do every day. And that's why when you show up and you feel uncomfortable with me and I go with all confidence and go, oh yeah, I'm not getting much engagement, but I know who's reading it. I also know what's true because I've done my work and I know what people really fucking think. I also know what makes people go, I don't give a fuck about what's on the I don't give a fuck about likes. This is about those people who care about fame rather than the work or the process. See, I know that at the beginning of the process, you need to have a person who dissents. You need to have a person who goes, not actually, don't do that. I'm saying you need to have someone that goes, you know what? in amongst these 100 people that are agreeing with you, there's another view here. And it's actually someone who knows what she's talking about. And it's someone who can bring it. Okay? I'm somebody who, if you tried to fucking call right wing, I would fucking obliterate you in 3 seconds. I would turn you to dust. But that's exactly why these right wing fucks and these, useful fuckwits that, drift that way get more traction than me, because they know that if I get a fucking say, I just turn this shit. I'm not. And I turn it back and I go, well, what makes you left wing? From everything that I can see, you're not. You prove that you're fucking left wing too, because I can. I got actions, deeds. I quit when I saw what was happening. I act. I put myself out every day. I pay the price. You don't get to call me that. I'm going to call you that, and you get to prove that you're fucking not a right winger and an oppressor and a colonizer. You see how it works? This is how this stuff works. But again, if you're interested in the process and the work and persuading and changing hearts and minds, rather than the short-term fucking dopamine hit and that, being fucking right in the moment rather than what actually fucking works, and being persuasive and actually moving people beyond clicking on your thing and being part of the news cycle for a day where you might actually be able to leverage some sort of fucking, Patreon out of it. Okay, I know that I'm not, it's just like, I know that it's futile. I realize this is futile. The Twitter Patreon thing is, for people like me, is futile because I see through all of it. I see the motivations. I know what they are. And I also know that in order to get the stuff, in order to monetize myself, I need to do and say the shit that I'm criticizing and look like an idiot. So what I'm going to do is go on LinkedIn, give honest business advice and say, you know what, I'm going to go on this thing with no agenda, no 7 on the price and none of this shit, and I'm going to make fun of fucking scammers and grifters and liars on there and make their assholes clench up for as long as they'll let me. And I'll go, you know what? You're going to pay me for the good that I do in our industry, because you need opposition, because democracy and freedom and fucking bad ideas good ideas only happen out of bad ideas being fucking called out. When the majority has a fucking bad idea and they're on this fucking stupid bandwagon that's ignoring a bunch of shit and cherry picking, and you need dissent for a functioning fucking, for people to, people aren't evil. They just don't have all the information. They can't do the work that they need. That's why this right-wing radicalization shit works, because they're sitting there with fucking like this going, oh yeah, here's your easy answers. And they're not easy. Unfortunately, you know what, again, another foundational thing to the left, okay? Other than class, economics, okay? Power, being against institutional power, not using it to get your own way, that's a fundamentally left-wing thing. The other thing that is fundamentally left-wing, and this is the massive Darvo because of all of this fucking stacked media shit where they constantly try to make us look like idiots, is because the left aren't fucking idiots. And you know why? Because the left are constantly saying that shit's a lot more fucking complicated than you say it is. Rupert Murdoch, Fox, okay, it's on Twitter and your fucking dickhead hot take. The hard work is on the left, okay? The hard fight is on the left. The fucking hard pain is on the left. The left is hard. The left is not easy. Social justice is not a fucking easy thing to do. That's why it's called social fucking justice. Meant to be hard. If it's easy, it's probably not social justice. Social justice is about a fucking fight. And I don't mean a Twitter fight. I mean a bare knuckle fucking fight for the right to speak every single day, even if you're going to be banned, telling men to fuck off in your mentions, and then continuing to write long form, continuing to do 3-hour streams and continuing to speak, continuing to not do anything because you won't let them fucking tell you what to do. That's what it means. It's standing firm. It's not drifting and changing to the right because you didn't get your own way on being called cis, which is a fucking word. It's just used as a weapon like every other fucking weapon that's stripped of fucking everything meaningful on the internet. Get off the internet. Have a break. or get off it completely. You need a license for it. You don't know how to use it. Eternal September. Anyway, notice how my content builds. You'll see that I'm like a 600-hour long movie where I just fucking eventually I get there. But it all links together. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to go. It's 2.5 hours. I'm sorry. I'm not, I know, actually, you know, I'm not sorry. Watch it, don't watch it. You value it, you don't. We get there. I'm not going to apologize for taking up space, even if it's a lot of hard drive space. And even if it's, you know, I wish that it was a little more succinct. The LinkedIn one might be a little better. But, you know, you'll see that, again, I take my own advice. Remember, the purpose of this stream is not to get fucking famous or watched or care. It's about skills and riffing and finding where the good stuff is so that it can be turned into stuff that's better. This is not the product. And that is the problem, is that people, there's something to be said for, here we go. I'm going to go back, complete opposite to what I just said, like I often do. As a consumer and as somebody who watches content, demand better content. No, here we go. This is my thing on the information desert. Expect to pay for better content and assume that the content that you're getting for nothing or getting very cheap is not going to be complete. It's not going to be done. It's not going to be, it comes full circle about what I realize about a Twitter thread. Not enough for what I'm trying to do. PhD's fucking site, that's a waste. That's a diversion. Okay. I'm still trying because it's, you know, it needs to be done. It's a kind of I hate the fact that I got to do it, but, you know, I got to do it. I got to play the fucking box ticking game. Okay. But it's not, you know, it doesn't begin and end in a tweet. None of this does. This activism, hashtag doesn't begin and end with that. It doesn't begin. It has to go somewhere else. You's not saying you're serious. Okay, well, what are you going to do? Okay? Trans women are women. Well, that's nice. Great. Say that. What does that mean in a policy sense? What are the implications of that? Who's affected? Who's impacted? How do we make sure that, you know, the least harm possible is done by this massive change of policy? Okay? That's where, you know, and we need to acknowledge that this is going to take time for people, and calling them fucking racist and white supremacists and making sure that we have an influencer campaign in place that protects people and, not just make it so that individual people, or no matter if they're blue checks or what, it's left to JK. Fucking stop looking to JK Rowling to do what, to be your savior. She's no. Okay, this is a failure of government, okay, to have a communications plan around a change of policy that sort of displaces and confuses and causes conflict in the community. They failed at their ability to communicate. They should have they should have run ads. They should have had a conversation. They should have had politicians fucking sitting on the news, having these conversations and going and acknowledging the conflict, not fucking letting one group run roughshod because they're fucking scared. That's how you handle these things, okay? You have to be good at communication, persuasion, the hard shit. And if you're on the left, you know that this is normal. Having to be fucking educated, and a woman especially, because if you make one typo, you're discredited for life. Rosa Luxemburg, you make one or two great points, one thing where you're not validated by all the dicks, and you're fucking you're written off as discredited by all of the dicks. Okay? We have to work harder. We have to try harder. We have to we have to understand the complexity, because we need to be able to defend all of the complexity in order to fucking, hear it, which is why our shit's long. Because it's not as simple as you and your simple fucking WASP power moves, motherfuckers, and a hashtag. There's history. There's a reason why we got here. And if we don't go back on how we got here and audit that, we're going to repeat the same fucking mistakes over and over and over and over again with Web3, with Web, all this shit. And if you can't get people to acknowledge that they made a mistake before, they're going to keep repeating the mistakes. Patterns. People have patterns. Okay? And especially if they're rewarded for it, and all they see is a fucking life of suffering and punishment and poverty, if they just don't shut up about these things. So no. Because if you're right and you're correct and you've done the work and you can state your case and you can argue it and you can bear being called boring or crazy for a minute, God forbid your ego might suffer. If you're a fully formed human with something actually to say that you're knowledgeable about, then you have no problem being called an idiot. You will defend it and you'll say, no, I'm not, fuck off. You'll get banned for saying fuck off. That's another problem we need to sort out, which I did yesterday. If any of the fucking turfs were paying attention to what I was doing yesterday, I was publicly calling out LinkedIn for the bias in their algorithms and how great the bias is a meaningless fucking catchphrase when the bias in their processes at a business level, strategic level, and fucking operational level discriminates against women and women of colour and trans people and LGBT people every day because these men can show up in your streams and you're held to or comments and you're held to the standard of professionalism and then told that the thing that you were defending yourself against is unprofessional. You defending yourself and setting boundaries is unprofessional when you know that that's the only fucking move you've got. It's either shut up or fucking get banned for defending yourself. That's your two options. And I called them out publicly on it, to which many women connected with me, with she, her in their name. Seems like a minor thing when they just go along with it. They go along with things because of this. They have to go along with it because men have institutional power. Stop fucking yelling at women who don't say things. I'm not saying that anonymous Twitter accounts don't have their place for this reason. But I'm saying that I have more fucking status and you should be backing people like me more than hot takes from fucking anonymous people like, who have an issue with me, but they're anonymous and they get to be GPs and they get to fucking have their careers, but they're out anonymous. But because, they're queen bee of the fucking turf movement in the UK, I get like no credit and I get silenced and fucking nothing. But meanwhile, I'm on LinkedIn fucking talking about the real issues for you guys. Anyway, it's a whole fucking other grievance that keeps spilling out and I keep putting off, but I'm going to do it because I'm fucking sick of this shit. If you're a real feminist, then you'll focus on actions and you'll look at behavior and you'll actually, and I'm not saying that there's a hierarchy here. I'm saying that the stakes are higher for certain people and you need to fucking cut them some slack. There's a lot of people in corporate who are fucking working behind the scenes to push back against this shit while you sit on Twitter cancelling us all for saying the fucking no words, that you're fucking upset because you're getting no words. And it's like, oh, well, you can't say the no word. Well, but then if I'm going to yell at you for fucking making fun of your autistic son who fucking can take a joke and you're like in on the joke. Fuck that. I earned this shit. That's a hint. That was a fucking well-timed beat. I'm going to go. I'm on another tangent rant, but I'm just like, fucking hell, man. Seriously, Twitter's a fucking waste of time, right? Texts are going off. I'm going to go. I've got work to do. That's a hint. Side point. Anyway, I'm going to talk about James Lindsay and why he's fucking, no, stop it. Oh, he's a guru. Stop it. I love you. Follow me on fucking LinkedIn. Sign up as a patron. If you're silent, see, I've got a fucking silent but afraid Patreon tier, by the way. If you have a job and you're doing okay, and it's not expected, always appreciated, okay? I understand people are fucking doing it tough and like the cost of living is going up and all that stuff, especially with like the oil situation and everything's fucking, people are being squeezed, okay? I get it. But if you're doing well, you owe me. If I'm speaking a truth while you're out there fucking, pretending that you agree with this stuff and you don't, you owe people like me for putting ourselves out there, okay? If you're anonymous and doing okay, then you owe people like me. And if you're another one who's out there like me, then we should need to be show more fucking solidarity to each other and not talk down to us because you got a new friend, you got a new circle of friends now of fucking Ben Shapiro and all those people. When you were like, off the backs of women's pain and you're now, because you've been on fucking Rogan and all that shit, suddenly all, get to smack down on people who fucking were donating you and financially supporting you when you couldn't were giving you a voice when you didn't have one. We put ourselves at fucking risk to make sure that your shit got shared when you couldn't, when you were stripped of your voice. You owe us. I came back on Twitter for this. I was doing fine on LinkedIn and I forgot. I was writing. I was doing stuff. And then I got dragged into your fucking shit and you abandoned us. So go fuck yourselves, everybody. Get your heads straight. I'm not saying this on International Women's Day because I'd be accused of being divisive. That's why I said Coney 2012, because there's parallels here. This model that's been perfected that is driving us all apart and everyone's acting with their emotions on a hashtag and fucking words and fucking distracted rather than focusing on what's actually happening with the issues and what the outcome is. And it's a whole bunch of fucking all talk for a few extra fucking bucks. Again, not discouraging people making money. I got to. But I want my share. I want what I promised. The contract also, and I know that it wasn't, I'm not entitled, I'm saying the implied fucking contract when other women were cancelled, okay, and I stepped in and started talking about that at my own fucking cost, and I mean literal expense, my own time, my own career, my name, my reputation, my daughter, my friendships. Fucking hell. Again, I just want what I was promised. Or it wasn't an explicit promise, but it was an implicit one, okay? There's this thing in business called an implied contract, fuckheads. I am not your hashtag. I am not your fucking person to take down on Twitter. I am not your straw man in which for you to feel good about yourself and use as content when it suits you and then fucking, treat me and I've been through this shit. I'm not doing it again. Not tolerating it, and I'm calling it out. I put up with it last time and I shut down my Twitter account that's been, for 2 years. I shut it down for a year. I had to change my name for 6. I considered legally changing my name. I had to put my name somewhere else online. I had to change my name on everything in order to participate online because of this shit. I've been through all of this. Okay, I've been through all this male harassment. I've had to change my fucking name. I've had to have AVOs for being a woman what talks. And I've got some shit to share because I've been through it and I'm not going to see any more women go through this. Okay, and I'm not also going to see women use other women and exploit other women's pain in order to, virtue signal and create their own little fucking circle of cliques and T-shirts and ribbons and fucking shit and exclude people who are actually putting shit on the line, like the women that are getting arrested and you might crowdfund because it makes you feel good. It's your Coney 2012. But where's the follow through? What are you actually doing? Where's your name? On LinkedIn. Or are you on LinkedIn liking all of these fucking woke fucking things? Because you're keeping your head down. Meanwhile, sitting on over it or sitting in a fucking Facebook group or sitting in some fucking, right-wing thing talking about how lefties are stupid when actually it's the opposite. Lefties are talking about fucking complexity all the time. And you're the one who's running off with the fucking easy answer because it's fucking convenient for you. Again, go where you want. I've said this before. I'm not your fucking mum. I don't give a shit. Okay? I'm fucking mum to too many people as it is. I'm mum to the internet. I'm not your fucking mum. I don't give a fuck. But I care about the fucking numbers and I care about persuading people. And if I can persuade 2 or 3 fucking people that, to change course and not be such a fuckhead, right? Or at least, the least you can do is fucking, quietly share my stuff and go, oh, she says what we're saying. It fucking, we were bitching about this. Here's this chick. Support her. Try to get her secretly fucking sort of supported. All those beautiful, wonderful whisper networks that women have that have always just turned on me rather than helped me. It's always been male fucking networks that have helped me get where I am because they respect, at least, you know what? I deal with male fuckheads, but I also deal with a lot of good men who appreciate this shit because they're sick of it too, and they respect a woman who fucking doesn't take shit from them either. Men are the ones, there's a lot of men who act. Women do a lot of fucking talking and that use their whisper network. The Handmaid's Tale glorifies that shit. Because I'm pretty sure if The Handmaid's Tale was real, they wouldn't have done it. They wouldn't have done it to fucking, get people to Canada. They would have done it to destroy June because June got a little bit more fucking food or looked at someone funny. Anyway. Stop fucking, again, be honest, truthful, brutally honest. You will get nowhere with bullshitting yourself or bullshitting, because bullshit fucking scales. And this is why we're dealing with so much bullshit. Because nobody's able to fucking be honest with themselves before they're like sharing ideas, shit out in the world. And it's just a whole fucking bunch of projected, dishonest, self-interested bullshit. And I'm one of the few people who, and me, fucking 3 other people in this whole world who are basically going, well, actually, you know what? I don't give a fuck what your political take is. I don't give a fuck about the substance. I give a fuck about your motivations and the fact that you're showing a complete lack of fucking self-awareness right now. Because the problem is complex. The problem is many moving things. The answer changes from, depending on the context. I change several times depending on like what's happening, case by case shit, okay? There's no absolute principles, and if you're in a world of absolute, then you need to fucking hear me ramble for 3 hours. Sorry, am I boring you? Am I talking too long? Is shit too fucking complicated? Is a woman talking too long for you? Fucking assholes. I'm going to stream on LinkedIn, and I'm going to go I'll try not to swear. I don't like my chance. I swear more here, but you'll probably see a slightly more polished version here. So if you don't like my swearing and you like the business side and you like the digital side, then you'll probably prefer the LinkedIn one. But, I'll be wearing a monocle on top because I'm professional. I'm going to have a moustache. I'm a man. I'm fucking professional. And a bow tie. And I try to eat my coffee with a knife and fork, maybe. Fuck it. Professional. Because I know that women agree with that shit. That professional is code for man. 30-second elevator pitch. Not defending yourself. Being polite. Smiling and nodding while he's a fuckwit. And not being allowed to call him a fuckwit. That's professional. Taking it up the arse from fucking clients who are having bad ideas and not saying, no, that's a bad idea. This is exploitative. You shouldn't be doing this with data. No one's saying, no, here it is. That's professional. Professional got us here. Professional avoids truth. Let's just be honest. I'm going to go. Nice manifesto there. Love you. Too long. Yes, it was too long. Fucking sorry. But again, I'm like, whatever. It's too long. It's too long for me to insist Paul watch my streams every time I stream. It's too long for me to expect people to watch it. It's not too long to it's not too long for me to want to speak. Anyway, love you. What did I say? Oh, yeah. Should I say it? Thank you, precious life seconds, life years, fucking 650 hours or some shit that I've been waffling on about this stuff. It's crazy. Anyway, I'm going to go. I love you. Do become a patron, especially if you're a fucking pussy. Or you could just bitch and moan about how I use the word pussy. That seems to be more the style. Rather than all of the things I said yesterday and gave my whole fucking billable day to International Women's Day because I knew that a whole bunch of corporate she-hers would be sitting there in a circle jerk, and I broke through and connected with some. What are you doing? Anyway, it's almost like I am a digital strategist. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not just a fucking idiot. And I'm not crazy. And I'm not ranting. I am perfectly sane. I am perfectly strategic, and I know how to fucking get cut through. Underestimate me at your peril, fuckers. I love you. underestimated my whole life, especially by other women. I've never needed to lean on women, and that's fucking dangerous. I love you. Thank you for your precious 5 seconds. I'll be back on LinkedIn tomorrow at 1 p.m. We'll see how that goes. That may sort of pivot and change and, shift and stuff. And then I'll be back on Friday talking about critical race theory and critical theory and nonsense. Bye. Donate! You owe me! Reparations! Motherfuckers! Bye. Never expected. Always appreciate. I love you. Bye.